Good evening, one and all, and welcome to the BSR MX5 Round 10 at the beautiful Brands Hatch GP. That's right, it's the finale we've got for you on your screens. You might notice everything looks a little bit different. You might almost call it a little bit old-fashioned for what we've previously had. Well, that's because, unfortunately, Graham Sessford has not been able to get ATVO and all his other fancy graphics working for this evening, so you're stuck with me broadcasting and commentating. But luckily for you, we've got Reese Saunders alongside me. You might not be able to see our faces this time round. You're spared that little bit of torture, but Reese, this should be a good night of racing.
I cannot wait for this, Jack. I've been looking forward to it all week, actually, since our last round at Silverstone. And it is the finale. We have 4 championship contenders lined up for us, along with 18 other entrants and drivers tonight. It is McEwen, Delmont, Cooper, and also Griffiths all combining together to bring us one hell of a show, which they showed last time. And I actually raced with some of our drivers last night in a practice session, and yeah, they're no slouches for sure, guys, at all. It's a lot easier to watch it than it is to do it, and I'm looking forward to it. I think whoever wins this year's championship will be the most deserving of winners, and yet a 4-way tie, or a 4-way battle, I should say, for the final round of the season. I can't wait to bring tonight's action to you guys.
Yeah, no, it's with me broadcasting, that means you get the fun job of figuring out all the maths, Reese. So although I would love to hear about your exploits on the Monday night with all of these drivers, you do have some calculation to do. However, I do believe there is an Excel spreadsheet that will help you along the way. Just hopefully this time, unlike last week, it'll actually keep up to date. But you prepared for that task?
I think so. I've got the spreadsheet in front of me. I'm not wearing any socks, so if I do have to start using my toes to count, we can get away with that. But the headline figures are, so far at least, and there's a few headline figures to get excited about, guys. The first 4 being, we have Andy McEwen currently in the championship lead for Team Year 1 on 2,258 points. Just a mere 31 points behind him, however, is Tom Griffiths for Excite, and his teammate Adam Delmont is a further 16 points back, also for Team Excite. And then last, but most certainly not least, our defending champion, the one and only Jason Cooper, racing for Swift Cooper Motorsports, 67 points behind Andy McEwen on 21.91. Now, you can score plenty of points quite easily here in the BSR, so a 67-point gap with 4 races of action tonight, plus qualifying, where you do get a bonus point for pole, as well as bonus points for fastest laps in each race as well. There's so much to play for. It's all on the cards. It can all change. It's very much on a knife edge. Now, I say plenty to play for. I have the stats in front of me, so sorry for cutting Jack out at this point. But you also have a 20-point difference between Luke Pullen and Jamie Gulliford in Pro-Am, and they are both here tonight. So Jamie Gulliford has missed a few weeks, but they are both currently on track, and we can actually see their times there in qualifying as they're busy getting the tyres up to temperature. And then we head over to our AM category. Now, that is probably the only category that is pretty much a done deal. And guys, so Fiona Siddons is currently in P2, but drum roll for our absolute fan favourite, the man that gets the most YouTube comments out of any of our drivers, Leon Jenkins. Looks like he's got AM in the bag. He's got a 390-point lead. So if he's not already been crowned, we're pretty confident he will be the AM champion by the end of the night. So at least in 2 of our categories, it's absolutely all to play for, Jack. And I know you've got your hands full juggling the commentary and the broadcasting side of the gig. But what a night of racing we've got ahead of us.
Oh, looking forward to it. Yeah, actually, speaking of the AM class, sort of, because that's we might as well talk about it now. We might not be able to talk about it a little bit later on because of all the drama that might be occurring with the rest of the field. But the AM class, Adam Fox is, of course, a driver who we haven't seen for quite a few weeks, but he was very dominant in the early parts of the season. Just doesn't seem to be able to have sort of turned up for the last couple of weeks. But that happens in the summer. You know, people go on holiday, people have different plans, they have kid commitments or anything like that, so that does tend to happen. Bit of a shame that we didn't get them through to the end, but Leon Jenkins, like you said, is not going to be an unpopular champion, is he? Especially in the YouTube comments. Speaking of the YouTube comments, please do get involved. We're actually streaming this across three different platforms, I believe. Well, 2 different platforms of 3 different accounts. I believe it's of the BSR actual YouTube page. I hope it is, because that's the main place it's supposed to go. Otherwise, I've done something wrong. It's coming out of my YouTube page, Jacko Racing, I believe, and my Facebook page, Jacko Racing. So if you are tuning in on any of them, please do drop a like or a subscribe. Ollie Ricks has come along and liked the Facebook feed. I believe Fraser Rostance did as well. He might have just liked one of my pictures that I put up earlier on, but I remember his name popping up on my phone a couple of minutes ago. So a big thank you to anybody else who's jumped in and given the streams a like on any of the other platforms. I can only keep an eye out on Facebook on my Streamlabs. So yeah, big thank you. Right, on the top of your screen, you can see 3 different colours: Pro, Pro-Am and Am. Pro are in red, Pro-Am are in blue, and Am are in green. The reason why I bring that up is because we've been using different software throughout the majority of this season, and well, you might just need a little bit of a reminder. So anybody on the left-hand side on the timing tower in red are the pros. Leon Jenkins, who's just decided to fly off the road there and is going to have an unsafe rejoin. No, just about safe rejoin without hitting any wall. He is in the Am category, so he is going to be green on the left-hand side. And anybody who is blue, their positional number is blue, they are a Pro-Am. So nice, easy way of keeping up with everything. Right, Jason Cooper, the 5-Star Racing teammates are pretty much nose to tail. Of course, Lars Fischer is just behind Jason Cooper, currently getting a nice little waft from behind. It's there he is, Lars Fischer, the number 2 car. Won't be number 2 for particularly very much longer in this championship, because he's not one of the 4 cars in contention for a championship result. But since he's come into the championship, he really has been a fantastic second gunner, hasn't he, Reese, for Jason Cooper. Lars has really done the business.
Yeah, he's been some fantastic reinforcement for Jason. Obviously, the team year one are almost like a mafia, and we've seen the Excite cars, when they're not driving into each other like they were last week, they've also been brilliant support. And it's great that Jason, mid-season, I think from round 3, managed to get Lars in to do a bit of a support gunner role. I say support gunner. Lars has been absolutely rapid, competing for race wins in his own right as well. But it's good to see that Jason's obviously had a teammate to help him out there. On the subject of social media, however, I know you've got the Facebook stream live on your screen, Jack. I've actually got the YouTube comments up on mine, and we've had a very helpful input. It's going to be incredibly helpful input for me, at least. Rob Jackson has said that the sheet will be updated after each race.
Ooh,
so I'm not going to get cold feet. I can put some socks on, because I'm not going to have to be counting on my toes. We're going to be able to give you a championship point rundown after each and every one of our 4 races tonight, guys. We'll be able to keep you abreast of the situations as and when they come, and we will be able to crown a worthy champion at the end of race 4. So I'm glad that it's not down to my maths, and there's a spreadsheet that's working it all out for me.
Yeah, that is very useful indeed. As I mess up some of the graphics, I do apologise. Very useful indeed. I'm just trying to have a look and see what the best times are that have been flown about at the moment. There we are on your screen for you. I'll also stick the intervals between the drivers up there, just to show you how close it is. Because look at that 3rd to 4th place at the moment, Sam Smith. A driver who we quite often, we mention quite a lot, but we don't, in qualifying, see them right at the sharp end of the order. Dead tied pretty much with Andy McEwen, and only 0.004 of a second behind Jason Cooper. He's absolutely flying, Reese, isn't he? He's doing well to be in those top 2 rows.
I wouldn't say he is doing very well, but I wouldn't say it was a surprise. The benefit, this is the first time in the 10 rounds of the championship we've had so far, I've joined our drivers for the Monday night practice session that they run in. And you know what? Sam Smith was right up there with McNally as well. McNally was right up there too. Lars Fischer was quick. Jason Cooper and Andy McEwen was there. I think Andy was doing some real-life commentary duties yesterday. And Tom Griffiths and Adam Delmont were right at the front as well. And you know what? There's any one of 6 or 7 drivers that can quite easily win race number 1 tonight. Based on, obviously, it's the only race that's decided by the qualifying order. After that, it's 3 reverse grids. Jack, I don't know how you're doing for software on that front, by the way. Obviously, we've got to set all 3 reverse grids for the guys tonight, and they'll play a part as well. There'll be stories developing. It might be that there's some bad luck in race 1, but actually that puts you in a fortuitous position in race 2, as long as you finish not more than 1 lap behind the field.
Don't you worry about a thing in terms of software. I might be slow, but I will get it done. No, we've got the random number generator yet again. We haven't quite got the spinning wheel or the razzmatazz of that, but it worked a lot better, actually. It was a bit more slipstream when I actually just tried to do a random number generator and brought it up on the screen. So we're going to do that again, which means it actually is a little bit more random than we're used to. Normally, when we do the spinning wheel, it could be, let's, for instance, just say 8th, 10th, 12th, 15th, or a full reverse grid, and those are your only options. With a random number generator, it could be literally any number between the number 8, or 8th place, basically, and a full reverse grid. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing how that mixes things up, and I think that does add a little bit of extra pressure, which we like to just, add a little bit extra spice here at BSR MX5, especially for a season finale. So, yeah, looking forward to that one. 11 minutes, well, nearly 12 minutes of the 15 done, and there are only allowed 15-minute qualifying session. Pretty much everybody who's come into the pits, changed tyres, got back out there, trying to get into a nice little bit of slipstream. That's exactly what Sam Smith has managed to do. Andy McEwen has gone 2 green sectors, Sector 1 and Sector 2. He's in 4th. It doesn't take much for him to jump up to 4th, into 3rd, sorry. Does he manage it? No, not a quicker lap time by Andy McEwen. In fact, he was nearly a second off in that previous attempt, so a bit of a shame for him. He's not going to improve this time around. Just having a look and seeing if anybody else is going quicker. Doesn't look like it. What is worth noting today, Reese, for some reason, not entirely sure why, we do only have 22 cars with us. I don't know if that's because it's the season finale and a lot of people aren't in contention. Maybe a lot of people are having to deal with their kids going back to school or something like that, or going back to work. I'm not 100% sure. But, yeah, a bit of a shame that we've got a slightly depleted grid, but I'm sure the action will be fast and furious nonetheless.
Indeed, it's going to be absolutely frenetic. I'm just looking across, and you've mentioned 22 entrants, 3 of which haven't set a time yet in qualifying. And that's Colin Sampson, Fiona Siddons, and Adam Delmont. Now, Adam Delmont, he's the name I want to draw your attention to. He's one of our championship rivals. And as I mentioned, I've got one of these fantastic spreadsheets in front of me that I'm trying to make a little bit of sense of just there. And I can actually see, so as I look over, he did pick up some license points. In fact, he picked 5 of them up in race 2 on lap 7 and lap 13. And I think that means that he's got a exclusion from qualifying, which might hamper Adam's championship challenge so far. Obviously, sat P3 in the championship. He's going to be starting right the way at the back now. I know he's got the speed. I know he's got the pace to make it back to the sharp end. But this is definitely a plus point to the likes of Griffiths, Cooper and McEwen.
Yeah, it's not ideal, is it, for Delmont? But, yeah, some of the Excite drivers last time out were getting a little bit feisty, weren't they? And maybe it was Adam Delmont who was got a little bit punished for that. We'll have to wait and see. But he won't be in qualifying, so it's basically an extra reverse grid race for him, isn't it? But the problem for him is the fact that all of his championship compatriots get to actually qualify and get to move up the order. Speaking of the drivers who are right at the sharp end, Tom Griffiths, Sam Smith and Lee Holmes and Adam McNally all in the pit lane, deciding to finish their race, their qualifying early. Jason Cooper's still out there, Andy McEwen's still out there, Lars Fischer's still out there. None of which, though, are going particularly quickly. Jason Cooper and Lars Fischer did put a green sector 6 in last time round, but on this particular lap, not doing anything too special. Jason Cooper's just put in a faster sector 4, and to be fair, so does Lars Fischer. There's only 0.02 of a second between them, actually. So Jason Cooper could be making a bit of a shout to get up onto that front row. Well, he's already on the front row, but onto that pole position, I should say. As they come down towards clearways, we'll have to see how he can get on. Going through Clark Curve now, and Jason Cooper will be coming across the line to see the checkered flag. Is he able to improve? Is Lars Fischer able to improve? Just behind him, yes he is. Jason Cooper with 2 green sectors and Lars Fischer actually both improve on the final lap. Jason Cooper jumps himself into pole position by 0.04 of a second ahead of Tom Griffiths. Lars Fischer only misses out by 0.02 of a second actually. So the top 3 are incredibly close, Reese.
Yeah, I mean, throw a blanket over them. They are that close. Less than a tenth. We talk about the magic second sometimes. It's the magic tenth for our front three runners. And Jason Cooper, right at the death, strikes first blood in the championship battle tonight, scores the first championship point as well. And yeah, Jason Cooper, top of the pops when it comes to qualifying. And yeah, it's advantage him for race 1. And he's got his teammate sat in P3 as well. Tom Griffiths actually slightly isolated in P2. Sam J. Smith is a Simtech Excite driver, so I know there's a lot of affinity there between those. But no, it'll be a really interesting race 1. Sometimes they're the purest races of the evening because they're the only race that is set by that qualifying order. So it's usually just an all-out slugfest based on pace. But that is qualifying over and done with from what I can see. I think the only person that will probably be quite unhappy with where they're starting from the championship picture is Adam Delmont. And we spoke about Pullen and Gulliford being so close together, only 20 points in it in Pro-Am. Well, you know what? There was only a 10th in it in qualifying as well. They're lining up P11 and P12. So we'll be bringing them up nice and often. I know it's a bit of a victory tour for him, but we'll be spending some time with Leon Jenkins, Pro-Am leader as well. From what I can see as I look across at our standings, he has also secured our Pro-Am pole, our Am pole for tonight too. He's not quite a Pro-Am yet, but once he's got the confirmation that he's won the championship, that'll be all but in the bag.
Yeah, now you just mentioned the only drivers that will be disappointed, potentially Adam Delmont, obviously not starting, not doing any qualifying laps in that particular session. But one driver I'd probably argue is maybe feeling a little bit more pressure is actually Andy McEwen. He was already feeling a little bit on edge. We spoke to him last week after the races, and I don't think he's going to particularly enjoy starting from 5th position. Anyway, we'll have to wait and see. On pole position then, Jason Cooper. Alongside him is Tom Griffiths, Lars Fischer in 3rd with Sam Smith. In 4th, Andy McEwen, like I mentioned, in the top 5 with Lee Holmes alongside him on row number 3. Kip Stevens in 7th, Adam McNally in 8th, James Neve in 9th with Luke Cooper rounding out the top 10. And then it is our Pro-Ams, pole position for the Pro-Am at 11th overall. Luke Pullen, Jamie Gulliford is just alongside him. Then you got Nick Clibbins, Julian Schreur, and then Glenn Humberstone is our pole position for the Am class and 15th overall. Leon Jenkins 16th, Douglas Stewart 17th, Alistair Hatcher 18th, Chris Dixon in 19th, Adam Delmont in 20th, Colin Sampson in 21st, and Fiona Siddons will start in 22nd place. And we rinse through them quite quickly there, don't we, Reese? Because we want to make sure that we're getting ready for the actual race. And, we can focus a little bit on Tom Griffiths. Jason Cooper hasn't spawned in yet, so that is Lars Fischer, the number 2 car, just behind. And it's going to be interesting, isn't it, really, to see how this championship battle sort of develops. And the one driver that really, well, 2 drivers that throw a spanner in the works somewhat are Lars Fischer and Sam Smith. How hard do they battle? You've probably been in this situation before, Reese, where you're at the front, but you're not necessarily in a championship winning position. What's the sort of what's the thought process that goes through your head?
So I've been in both positions, actually. I've been in the position where I'm in a championship fight, and I've been in the position... In fact, I'm going to cut that point short because we've got lights, 5 of them now. Jack, take it away.
Yeah, lights, engine and action is what we've got here for the Brands Hatch BSR MX5 Championship finale. And it's a good start by Jason Cooper and a very aggressive manoeuvre to the inside by Tom Griffiths to try and fend off his 5-star teammate, Lars Fischer. Tom Griffiths does just that with Andy McEwen cutting up the inside of Sam Smith. And as they head towards Druids for the first time, Sam Smith is going to have to carry an awful lot of momentum if he's going to hope to keep hold of that 4th position. And in fact, you know what? He's done just that as they head towards Graham Hill Bend. He'll be on the inside. McEwen gets hung out to dry somewhat. The top 3 are basically as they were off the start line. McEwen gets hung out to dry, and all of a sudden, Lee Holmes comes on the attack. Through Surtees they go. Adam McNally will be very keen to try and help out his teammate Adam Delmont in a championship fight by reducing McEwen's points tally to an absolute minimum. If we look a little bit further forward, Tom Griffiths is eyeing up a nice move. Lars Fischer is eyeing up a nice move on Tom Griffiths, and as they head towards Hawthorns, he gets that move done as well. A frantic start here to open the BSR MX5 finale, but it's not what it's basically what we expected. Put it that way, Reese.
Yeah, our MX5 drivers are always super busy. As Tom Griffiths sending it up the inside, around the back of the circuit in the GP loop. You can get away with that, but the tyres are so cold. I never knew how little grip these drivers had until I raced last night. It is so cold. It's so difficult to warm those tyres up. And actually, Lars Fischer managed to hold on around the outside. Plenty of space, plenty of respect given between the two drivers. Obviously, Tom Griffiths has so much to play for. What this has allowed, though, is Jason Cooper to break away by almost a second so far. So he's currently leading the pack as Fisher P2, Griffiths third, Smith fourth, Holmes fifth, and then Andy McEwen P6 at the end of that one. So he has managed to stay ahead of McNally. Obviously, McNally not just helping out his Excite teammate of Adam Delmont, he's also helping out Tom Griffiths, who's in third place as well. Obviously, all teammates in the Excite Racing stable. On the subject of Adam Delmont, at the end of lap number 1, remember he started P20, he's already made 5 steps up. It's a Verstappen-esque start for him. He's in P16 right now, so the recovery starts now. We'll get probably around about 9 or 10 laps done tonight. But yeah, Adam Delmont starting to make some progress. He's got Leon Jenkins. Oh, there's a bit of contact on the back. That looks like, who's that going around there? That's Luke Pullen. That's one of our Pro-Am contenders going around. Jamie Gulliford will be not happy to see that, because you never want to see your championship rival have the contact. But unfortunately, he just gets entangled with Luke Cooper round to the inside barrier there. Jack Oliphant showing his great skill, not just as a commentator, but as a broadcaster. Getting a replay as we watch Nick Clibbons now going round. Again, contact off the front of, that might have been Jamie Gulliford, in fact. So both our Pro-Am rivals getting involved with pro drivers and having carnage and chaos. Luke Cooper now off. We saw him being the potentially offensive party, but now absolute carnage, absolute chaos in our AM category, our Pro-Am category. And actually, Luke Pullen's now back ahead of Jamie Gulliford. I've got the driver comms up. Nick Clibbons did not sound happy about that at all. We've got a replay up on our screens now, folks. Oh, and then, it looks like, that's Adam Delmont. In all of that, I missed Adam Delmont getting sent around. And it looked like he'd slowed up for the accident. Luke Cooper, not realising what was going on, perhaps hits the back of him. And unfortunately, so Luke Cooper's swerving around the Excite car and he tags the other Excite car. And unfortunately for Adam Delmont, that is a hard impact into the inside Armco. Almost looked like the Armco Flex out iRacing doing some absolute top bombing there with their work. And unfortunately for Delmont, that puts him all the way back to P19 and somewhat stunts his charge. All drama here, Jack.
How does that deal with the championship then? What's the mathematics, Reese? Come on. I'm kidding.
I've put my socks back on. You're not
don't worry, I'm kidding. No, we'll do it after the race. It's absolutely fine. It's only the 4th race that really it sort of matters. Don't worry, I won't put you on the spot like that. It's just because you like to put me on the spot in terms of like who I think is going to win each race. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to dob you in it this time. Right.
I'm going to do at the start of race 4.
Well, the championship might be decided by then. I doubt it, but it might be. The reason why I doubt it is because our championship leader is currently stuck down in 6th position. You said that he was off doing some real-life race commentary duties yesterday. He was at Donington Park for the TCR UK and the Civic Cup Championship. But now, at Brands Hatch, he seems to be doing the business of trying to go around the outside of Lee Holmes through the last corner. He'll be glad we've got that one on film. And to be honest, I almost missed it looking at the timing tower, and until I saw his name pop up. Trying to go 3 wide through Paddock Hill Bend is always a little bit brave, but I think he's just about scared Lee Holmes out of it, and indeed he has. Andy McEwen moves back up to 5th place. He'll be relieved about that one because he certainly did it the hard way.
Yeah, and that means he doesn't lose too much ground to his championship rivals who are currently 1st and 3rd. But no, absolute bravery from Andy McEwen. It's not an easy track to pass on here, Brands Hatch. It's fast, it's narrow. There's grass on the outside, which is basically just an express ticket to the Armco. Oh, as Lee Holmes goes round. Unfortunately, into Surtees just there. The rear end gets loose. Round he goes. He doesn't hit anything, but drops him back to P9. We've got quite a lot of field spread after the earlier instance. There you've got this gaggle of 5 cars zooming right up on Lee Holmes right now. So he'll be wanting to get back up to speed. You've got Glenn Humberstone. You've also got Leon Jenkins in there side by side for the lead in our AM category. Looks like Leon Jenkins currently settling into second place there. You've got Glenn Ulmster in the 88 Tech car. Sorry, I've misidentified there. It's Douglas Stewart he was side by side with going down the back straight. In fact, Douglas Stewart almost looking up the inside of our elect champion here as we're coming through the final sets. You can see just how much those MX5s are moving around. Not a lot of grip on the table, all for them. We're almost halfway through the race, however, and it looks like we're on board with Andy McEwen. We saw him fighting with Lee Holmes on the last lap. Sam Smith is his next victim. This time he goes to the outside of Paddock Hill Bend. It's a really awkward braking zone. Sam Smith gets to the apex first, but Andy trying the over-under, trying the undercut, gets up the inside for Druids, which is the favoured side. And does he get clear? Not quite on the entry, but he might get the traction, he might get the run out the corner, and then he'll be able to defend the inside into Graham Hill Bend. So Andy McEwen up to P4 now. He's got plenty of attention from behind. Our front three have broken away. That might be all she wrote for Andy. We've got Tom Griffiths that we can see just there, pressuring Lars and Jason at the front of our field. But now plenty of action unfolding here, Jack.
Yeah, and Adam McNally's decided to join in, hasn't he? Sam Smith is under an enormous amount of pressure with McNally on the inside, trying to get that drag down towards Hawthorns. And I think, no, McNally just ducks out of it. Sam Smith takes the position for the time being. You're right, I don't think McEwen is going to move any further forward. Sam Smith might decide that he wants to try and get that fourth place back sooner rather than later, but we'll have to wait and see whether he actually achieves such a thing. 8 minutes in nearly into this 15-minute race. It doesn't feel like it's been 8 minutes, I would say. It feels like it's been about 3, doesn't it? It's been very fast, very frantic, quite fun at the same time, I would argue. Yeah, there is an enormous amount of pressure right at the front of the field, so it's a three-way battle at the front. I don't expect Lars Fischer to really throw anything on Jason Cooper. That's why we haven't really focused that much on this particular battle. However, Tom Griffiths will be very, very keen to try and get in that into that sort of top 2 places and try and score as many points as possible. Thank you to Katie Eames, who's liked the Facebook stream. I'm sure plenty of people have on the YouTube as well, so a big thank you to you guys and basically anybody who's tuned in. I think there's an opportunity, though, for Tom Griffiths here to steal P2. Lars Fischer doesn't seem to quite have the ultimate pace. Maybe a suggestion that he's slightly driving within himself a little bit.
Yeah, and it's a perfect situation for our number 1 car. He's got his number 2 car, he's got his teammate, he's got his buddy, he's got his friend acting there as rear gunner. And that's a buffer for him, not just in terms of championship points, but also as well, just making sure that he doesn't get attacked. On the subject of attacked, Adam McNally goes through there into Surtees. Although Tom Griffiths closer than he's been so far, looking to the outside there. Oh, that's not going to work, not quite. It's such a fast corner, such a committed corner. Will he get an over-under? Will he want to send it on the inside here? No, it's going to force Lars Fischer to carry on driving defensively, try and generate a gap between those 2 5-star cars, and if he can, then pounce on Lars and just minimise the points damage to Jason Cooper here. But no, very respectful, very tame at the front. Andy McEwen's the one that's had to take the risk so far. Someone whose risk just hasn't worked out at all for him is Adam Delmont. He's all the way back in. I was going to say P21. He's P22 now. I think his car is absolutely hamstrung. He's running at about 2, 3, even 4 seconds off the pace of our lead cars. And I'm not saying it's championship over for him because so much can change, especially with reverse grids. But it's a blow for him indeed. It's not quite a 3-horse race yet, but yeah, definitely a blow there for Adam Delmont. Practically a DNF for him here.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, a lot of people would probably say, oh, there's no point carrying on, just retire and return to the pits. But the problem is then you're not eligible for a full reverse grid. You're not eligible to score any points. And in the BSR MX5 Championship, yeah, there's 22 people in this particular race. That means you can score points for 22nd, which a lot of the time, if you DNF or something like that, you'll score 0. And I'm not entirely sure on the breakdown of all the points, but 22nd is an awful lot more than 0 points. You've got to carry on, and you've got to try and be within with a shout with that reverse grid on the horizon as well. We'll have to keep an eye out on that. Right, Tom Griffiths, this is take number 3, 4, 5. I'm not entirely sure. I've lost count a little bit, actually, because he's pretty much constantly about this far away from the likes of Lars Fischer, but as they didn't make any kind of move, I'm going to watch Adam McNally try and go around the outside of Andy McEwen, who gives a little bit of a dab on the brakes, tries to fend off the Excite driver, but it's certainly very exciting. Go through the rear section of Brands Hatch GP side by side. This is fantastic racing, really good racing for respect. Sam Smith is right there, and then Andy McEwen's teammate James Neve, and around the outside, Adam McNally take a bow. That is a brilliant move to try and get that nailed, and as they go through the left-hand side, I think that's Sterling's. It's a fantastic move to take that 4th place away from McEwen. Sam Smith wasn't able to follow on. He's going to try and go around the outside. That's exactly the move that McEwen did on Smith just a couple of laps ago, actually, but Smith didn't manage to make it stick this time round. There is going to be an opportunity in the Paddock Hill Bend, and even if that doesn't work, everybody who's ever been to Brands Hatch knows full well that just because you don't do it at Paddock Hill doesn't mean the move is over, because going into Druids is one of the best overtaking opportunities on the on the grid, on the track. You know what I'm trying to say. Going into Druids, though, McEwen goes a little bit deep, manages to hold on to the brakes, holds on to the apex, and just about scares Sam Smith out of it. But Reese, that was an unreal overtake by Adam McNally.
Yeah, super brave from McNally. Really, really strong move around there. Oh, as Andy McEwen goes wobbly. He's going to lose that spot to Sam Smith now. But a super committed move from Adam McNally. And he is probably our strongest... not strongest, sorry. He's probably our wildest of wildcards. He's only joined for the second half of this championship. He's got Excite plastered all over his car. And if you're Andy McEwen, you'll be looking at McNally and thinking, you know what, he's my danger. He's the guy I don't want to be going wheel to wheel with. He's the guy I don't want to be, putting too much risk into, because he's not been here all season. He's not fighting for anything when it comes to overall honours, but he's doing a superb support role for his teammates. Obviously Delmont with his bad luck, but also Tom Griffiths, who's all the way up in P3. Griffiths and Cooper both taking a shed load of points here out of Andy, with him currently in P6. So I can't wait to see what the spreadsheet does at the end here of race number 1. But I know it will be delicately poised if it finishes as it is for race number 2. On the subject of finishes as it is, we're just about to start lap number 9 of the contest. We should get 10 scheduled laps here. I don't think they've got the white flag just yet. So this is it, 2 to go. And Andy McEwen's got a fair bit of work to do if he wants to be able to compete for his championship going forwards.
Yeah, well, he's trying it around the outside of Paddock Hill Bend. That means he'll have the outside for Druids as well, and he gets shaken out of it. A bit of a hip and shoulder, to be fair to Sam Smith. I don't think he did anything wrong. He was just on his line, broke, and then McEwen ended up having a bit of a hip check from him. And to go through Graham Hill Bend, obviously McEwen is nowhere near in line to attack, but he knows full well how much time is left, and he's absolutely desperate to at least finish within the top 5. Remember, though, there are reverse grids. If you finish a little bit further down, obviously not ideal for this particular race, but could mean you end up potentially on the pole position for race number 2. We are going from 8th and backwards, basically. Any number from the 8 down to last could be on pole position. So McEwen finishing in 6th place means he could be in the top 2 rows. Obviously, he's probably not thinking like that because he wants to clearly get past Sam Smith and take back at least as high as he qualified. And that is going to help him massively because Sam Smith decides to fly off the road. I'm sure he didn't decide that on purpose. Loses the position to not only McEwen, but to James Neve and Kip Stevens as well, who's probably running about as high up as we've seen him so far this championship. So Sam Smith reduces himself down to 8th place. Bit of a shame for him, but a massive sigh of relief for Andy McEwen, who now has James Neve just behind as well. We've got a lap left. I think Jason Cooper is about to start the final lap. Yes, he crossed it with 10 seconds to go, which means we do have this final lap, and that will allow Lars Fischer to have to defend one more time from Tom Griffiths, who's going to throw everything at him, Reese, I'm sure.
Everything, and the kitchen sink, and the contents of the sink, if it's not done, he's washing up as well. You've got half a second between our top 3. They've been absolutely glued together for 15 minutes here. And yeah, it's going to come right down to the wire. The thing that will help Fischer out is he will have the slipstream, he'll have the draft from his teammate. Now, hopefully I didn't teach Fischer too much. I was having to defend really hard from him last night, and you can defend hard here at Brands Hatch. It's hard to complete a move. We saw it took McNally 4 corners to overtake McEwen earlier on. That is still the position that's holding, by the way, looking at the timing screens. But as Griffiths closes up, he's not quite quick enough down the back stretch there, and it looks like Fischer might just have enough in hand. Griffiths having a bit of a look, having a bit of a peek there as here in the GP loop, where it looks like they're going to finish status quo. Here you've got a couple more opportunities. Every corner's an opportunity here at Brands Hatch because it's so fast. You've got the back corner of Sterling. Hello, Tom Griffiths running really wide there. That's going to cost him his momentum. Jason Cooper looks to be having drive. I don't think his teammate's going to be sending a hit on him at any point at all. But it looks like as we come around clearways for the final time here, it looks like Jason Cooper, as we approach, I can't remember, the flag's quite far down the straight here, but Jason Cooper wins race 1 at Brands Hatch GP in the BSR MX5s. Fisher second, Griffiths third, and then it looks like it's going to be McNally, McEwen, and then almost a dead heat there for heat number 7. Stevens was 6th, and then James Neve just edges out Sam Smith. As we look down, Lee Holmes finishes 9th, and then Jenkins is going to finish P10, ahead of Glenn Humberstone in AM, and then it's going to be Clibbens, Pullen, and Gulliford. Again, important stats there for our Pro-Am category, and then the rest of the field will finish on through. Delmont did manage to recover to what is currently P19, and it looks like he's going to hold on to that for the final couple of corners. Looks like he's made 2 spots there against Chris Dixon and also Luke Cooper at the back of our field. And yeah, Delmont crosses the line, P19. And no, I can hear Adam Delmont in chats there. No hard feelings apparently here. But Jack, race 1 in the books. And yeah, 3 more to go, and it's all starting to feel a little bit real, a little bit tense.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I think McEwen definitely was sweating through that, I imagine. Jason Cooper probably had the drive, that he was expecting, that he was hoping for, out in the lead, no problems. Tom Griffiths, probably quite content with 3rd place. And obviously, Adam Delmont, although no ill feelings, hopefully, like you just mentioned, he'll be fuming, though, at the result, I'm sure. Right, we're going to very quickly bring up the random number generator for our race reverse grid, as I'm trying to get myself so I can actually interact with it. That would also be very helpful, wouldn't it? Right. Let's go with 8 being the minimal. This is so the organisers can get it set up as quickly as possible. 8 minimal, maximum of 22. And drum roll, please, Reese. That'll do. Generating 22 full reverse grid. There we go. That's what we like to see, Reese, isn't it? We like to see that sort of drama, and there's no way anybody can tell me that I rigged that because it's literally a random number generator on Google. So, yeah, 22 a full reverse grid. Keep that in mind as we bring up the race results from race number 1 here this evening. Hopefully it'll fit underneath nicely. And look at that, it does. As if I planned this, isn't it? Right, Jason Cooper took the race victory in the first race of the finale here at Brands Hatch GP. Lars Fisher was 2nd place. Tom Griffiths, even I should say, was rounding out the podium, with 4th being Adam McNally. Andy McEwen was top 5. Kip Stevens was 6th. 7th was James Neve. 8th, Sam Smith. Lee Holmes in 9th. Top 10 was rounded out by Leon Jenkins. He also took the AM class victory. 11th was Glenn Humberstone, and 12th was Nick Clibbins. Luke Pullen took the Pro-Am victory behind the AMs. And in 13th overall, Jamie Gulliford was 14th. Alistair Hatcher was 15th. Douglas Stewart 16th. 17th was Colin Sampson, with Fiona Siddons in 18th. That's not all they wrote. Adam Delmont was 19th. Luke Cooper 20th. 21st was Chris Dixon. And actually, that means Chris Dixon will be on pole position, because in 22nd place was Julian Schreur, who was 4 laps down in the end. So Julian Schreur is not eligible for the reverse grid. He's also not eligible to score any points, unfortunately, either. So, Reese, after all that, fairly impressive that we've actually got 21 cars finish out of 22, because there was quite a bit of damage in that first couple of laps.
Indeed, it was a bit carnage, especially in the GP loop there. We saw what we thought was going to be a few casualties, and they did manage to get running again, albeit with slightly diminished speed. I mean, Delmont, he only managed to do a 41.3 as his fastest lap, which is almost 4 seconds slower than Cooper. No, I know, well, Adam Delmont is not a 4 second a lap slower driver than Jason Cooper, and we all know how quick Jason Cooper is. So you can see just the damage that Delmont was dealing with. Good to see as well. So none of our drivers incurred the 15 instant point penalty. get it in BSR. You're allowed an instant a minute. And yeah, none of our drivers went over that. So no changes to our final standings with that. As we start to get ready for race 2.
Yep, and we do want to get ready for race 2, which means us jumping out of this server and jumping into hopefully the one that has just been made. Thank you very much, Tom O'Farrell, who's just dropped a like on the Facebook page. And, well, we'll be back in a couple of minutes' time. We're just going to shoot you over to a very quick holding screen while we try and jump over. There we go. Welcome back, everybody. Apologies about that. My OBS decided to just take a couple of seconds before it decided, you know what, I'm actually going to play ball now, so here we go. Yeah, my apologies, but we are back for race number 2. We had a cracking race number 1, didn't we, Reese? Just a couple of minutes ago, and, well, with a full reverse grid, pretty much, we're hoping for much of the same here now.
Yeah, it's going to be absolute edge of your seat action here. But the reason we're all here, it says it on our screen right now. You can see it is the finale. We've got just over 90 seconds to go, so I'm going to take us through a very quick run through of the championship title picture after race number 1. So, by a slightly smaller margin, it is still Andy McEwen leading the way, but he's only got a 22-point lead over Tom Griffiths now, so that gap has shrunk. Jason Cooper's now moved up to P3 with his race number 1 win. And he's only 41 points behind Andy. And then the big loser from race 1, Adam Delmont. He's currently 4th, but he's still only 75 points behind. So still absolutely all to play for, especially because he'll be starting nearest the front of our protagonists in race number 2. Let's move on through the categories. Luke Pullen has now overtaken Jamie Gulliford by 22 points in Pro-Am. So we've had our first Championship League change here tonight in Pro-Am. Still all to play for there as well. But the one category where it's no longer mathematically all to play for is Am. And I'm almost waiting to hear the clack of keyboards in the YouTube comment section. But Leon Jenkins is our Am champion for this season, and congratulations to him for that. He's been the absolute class of the field with that. He's won with 3 races to go, and he's probably an early favourite for our Pro-Am category next season as well. So really interesting to see how he gets on with that one. But we've got a couple of seconds left of our warm session, Jack. So without much further ado, why don't we run over to the grid and see how we all line up for race number 2.
Yeah, before we do that, or before iRacing lets us do that, you know, you've just touched on it then, though. One of the drivers that have got to be favourites, Adam Delmont. This is when his race and his evening really kick-starts, and, oh, that's not the correct grid. That's the correct grid, which sees Chris Dixon on pole position, Luke Cooper alongside him in second place, and Adam Delmont, as I mentioned, in third. Fiona Siddons in fourth, Colin Sansom in fifth, Douglas Stewart sixth, Alistair Hatcher seventh, Jamie Gulliford in eighth. Ninth is Luke Pullen with Nick Clibbins in 10th, Glenn Humberstone and Leon Jenkins are 11th and 12th. 13th is Lee Holmes, 14th Sam Smith, James Neven 15th with Kip Stevens in 16th, Andy McEwen all the way down in 17th with Adam McNally in 18th, Tom Griffiths in 19th, Lars Fisher 20th, Jason Cooper is our race 1 winner, he starts in 21st place, and Julian Schreur, who was ineligible for the full reverse grid, he starts in 22nd place due to the fact that he was 4 laps down. Right, we've mentioned him once, I'll mention him again. Adam Delmont from third place. It's going to be a very interesting race, this one, and it's the potential to save his evening. It's also the potential to really write him out the championship. But as the green flag drops, we already see one driver just dive off to the left-hand side, and that's Fiona Siddons, deciding that she didn't want to get involved at all with anything that goes on in this particular race. Chris Dixon leads the way with Adam Delmont diving up the inside and already taking second place, actually already taking the race lead, because Chris Dixon ran too far out wide and ended up going off the circuit and running a little bit too close for comfort towards the outside of the gravel trap as well, really slowing themselves up, and they go 2 by 2 behind, and Adam Delmont gets the dream start. He takes the lead and everybody else is now following and trying to catch up. A couple of drivers actually going off the circuit yet again and still can't keep on with these cold tyres, really struggling. A few people do just get a little bit carried away and forget that the cold tyres are a thing. But look who's charged through the field quite early on, actually. I believe they started in 15th. Well, Andy McEwen, 17th even. Andy McEwen has made up 10 places on this opening half a lap to make his way up to 7th. If anybody's going to catch him, oh, but he just avoids a little bit of action just ahead. That was Chris Dixon, who was flying across the front end of his nose cone. That'll be very scary for him. And as a driver just ahead of him as well goes off the circuit. And Andy McEwen is, well, getting a little bit lucky. But you need luck in racing, Reese, because without it, you haven't got a chance.
No, Dream start for Delmont, dream start for McEwen as well, though. A Verstappen-esque sky through the field here. He's already up into our top 5. He's got to be fancying his chances against the cars in front of him as well. The only person he's probably looking at and thinks, you know what, I can't catch him, is Adam Delmont, who will be scampering away. Oh, as meeting the sandwich. Oh, no, that's Tom Griffiths going round. Oh, and then a big T-bone accident. Hopefully that's not broke the left rear of his car there. Oh, it looks straight enough at least. But tumbling right down the order. Adam McNally also DNF so far here in race number 2. He's in the pits, not sure what happened to him. But an absolute disaster for Tom Griffiths there as well. He's currently down in P17. So not ideal for him. Obviously second place in the championship going into this. Jason Cooper doing his traditional charge. Already up to P9. You know, he's just controlled aggression is that man. And he'll be breathing probably down Andy McEwen's neck before too long. But there's 4 cars in between them that'll have to negotiate first and foremost. But no, this is what we've come to expect. Reverse grid, jumbling it up, Jack, meaning that we don't quite know what's going to happen until just after it's happened. But Jason Cooper P9, McEwen P5, they'll both be happy with that. But not as happy as Delmont, who's currently leading the way.
Yeah, we haven't really seen much of Delmont actually, have we? Because of all the action that's been going on behind. He's got about a 4/10 gap between him and the race leader as McEwen slots up his the inside of another driver, and that's Douglas Stewart, who will lose out on another position and might lose out on Jamie Gulliford, his Pro-Am rival as well. And Sam Smith goes up the inside, and well, that's 3 places lost, 4 places lost, 5 places lost for Douglas Stewart in the course of 2 corners. And as Jason Cooper is the latest driver to go past him. Still in the top 10 is Douglas, but yeah, not ideal for him at all. Let's have a little bit further forward. This is Jamie Gulliford just holding off the attack of Sam Smith for the time being. But, well, we've seen Sam Smith. He's absolutely flying here at Brands Hatch GP. He's always a strong contender pretty much anywhere he goes. But it seems the Brands Hatch circuit really does suit his driving style. And he's confident enough to throw out things around the outside, or the inside, doesn't matter where. If he thinks he can get past, Sam Smith is going to give it a good old go. You can guarantee that. And as they go up towards Druitt, out of Paddock Hill Bend, already trying to turn in to get the apex. There was never any room there, to be fair, to try and make the apex. And Jamie Gulliford was making sure of that. And, well, just behind Jason Cooper, you mentioned he's going to be on the back of McEwen sooner rather than later. He has to negotiate through Nick Clibbins, Sam Smith and Jamie Gulliford before he does. But if he does it at the rate that he's been carving through them so far, that won't take very long at all. And as he goes round the outside of Surtees, Nick Clibbins in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, Jason will get a great run off Surtees there as well. And that should give him the run down the backstretch there. And yeah, Jason Cooper, he's got the inside now. He should just about clear Nick as they approach the apex. And there we go, yeah. Fastest corner on the track here. So much commitment everywhere you look here at Brands Hatch. As you see, so Smith's now ahead of Gulliford there as well. And that's let Andy McEwen just start to scamper away a little bit. But there's a bit of a gap. It's 2.7 seconds between Pullen and McEwen. He'll be wanting to close that down and catch the cars in front. Oh, as we see Sam Smith, a wheel on the grass there, just kicking the back end out. The MX5s are quite savable. As Sam Smith showed, there was some excellent car control. But this again just jumbles up our championship. The drivers had a good race 1. Aren't quite in as fortunate positions in race number 2. The drivers that probably weren't that happy with race number 1 are probably quite chuffed with race number 2 so far. But you don't count your MX5s, you don't count your Miatas before they hatch. Still 10 minutes to go, Jack, and sure, plenty of twists in the tail.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You don't want to assume anything, do you, really? Adam Delmont had a really good start, but he hasn't really been able to pull away from Luke Cooper. And if we look at his lap times, just having a look, what is his last lap time? Well, a 38.1. Luke Pullen was a 37.7. So there is time out there to be found. Adam Delmont probably needs to find it. He is eking little gaps out, 10th or 2 here and there on Luke Cooper in second place. Is that going to be enough over the next 10 minutes to fend off the charging drivers like Andy McEwen and Jason Cooper? We'll have to wait and see. Jason Cooper, like we mentioned quite a few times, does have a few drivers in his way. Jamie Gulliford is the next on his list. As they go down towards Hawthorns, Gulliford's going to have to not only attack, he's going to have to defend as well. And sometimes the best form of defence is a good attack. Is that going to be the case for Gulliford? And normally when you're in the middle of sort of one of these 3-way battles, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't in the middle. It's quite often you end up staying exactly where you are after trying to make a move. The person ahead of you ends up going behind you, and the person behind you ends up going ahead of you. So it's a little bit of 6 of 1, and Andy McEwen's getting dragged into it.
Yeah, with the slipstream, with the draft effect they've got here, Andy hasn't been able to get away from Sam Smith or Jamie Gulliford, and that's, I'm not going to use the word problem, but it is very much Andy McEwen's problem right now. It's the fact that because of how talented a bunch we've got on our screens right now, you can't break away from anyone. The MX5 will keep you in tow in draft, and yet you just cannot eke away at all unless you've got a serious pace advantage or there's a mistake from the car behind. It's incredibly difficult to leap clear of the cars in front. It's also difficult to catch as well because of just how tightly packed our competitors are on the pace front. In fact, McEwen has actually lost a tenth or so to Luke Pullen. Luke's still our quickest man on track. He was actually a full 8 tenths quicker than Delmont last time by. So we might very well have a 3-way fight for the lead, and then we've got this 4-way fight for P number 4 here as well. This is going to get spicy, folks.
Yeah, and well, Delmont was very quick in the early part of this last lap, and then dropped off significantly on the second part. So not entirely sure what's going on with him there. But Andy McEwen has got a lot of pressure, and he's got quite a lot of problems as well. He said you weren't going to use the word problems. Well, I'm going to use it because I would argue Sam Smith is a problem for him right now. He was a thorn in his side in qualifying, and he seems to have remained there during this race number 2 and race number 1 as well. He's the sort of the driver that Andy McEwen really doesn't want. Not to say that Sam Smith is a dirty driver or anything. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that he's not a championship contender. McEwen really doesn't want to have to fight over it and risk a lot of points just to try and stay ahead of a driver who really has no issue being involved at the front end of the order, but equally has no stake in a championship fight either. And therefore, the pressure is off Smith, and he can do things like this. He can try moves around the outside and force McEwen into risking it all. Sam Smith goes wide. McEwen goes defensive into Druitt. He's got Cooper just behind him in the 5-star car as well, who tries to go through on Sam Smith and take advantage. Smith will have the inside for Graham Hill Bend. I am pretty sure that one, and McEwen holds on to that position for the time being, but look how aggressive Smith is being. Cooper trying to get at the inside of Surtees. We saw somebody spin. It wasn't Nick Clibbins. Last race as they went around that outside move. Not happening to Sam Smith this time, but Jason Cooper does get a good run. He gets a nice little exit, and all of a sudden he's going to be right behind McEwen now. He's in 5th place. I know exactly how much Andy respects Jason Cooper and how much he thinks he's an alien. This is the last driver he'll have wanted in his rear view mirrors. All he needs to do is score decent points, and he just needs top 5 finishes throughout the evening, and he'll be all right. Sam Smith does get back ahead of Cooper. It's only going to be a temporary measure, though, you get the opinion of Reese, don't you?
Andy McEwen showing some incredible race IQ, incredible battle IQ there, actually. I noticed as we were going down the straight, Andy stayed to the left of the circuit, making sure he was giving J. Smith the draft, making sure he's giving him the slipstream and the tow, and keeping him between himself and Cooper. Oh, Sam Smith has got to slow down. Not where you want it, not where Andy McEwen had wanted it either. So Andy McEwen with the great race IQ of keeping Sam Smith behind him. Sam then goes and almost throws it all away with that slowdown. He's had to give up a lot of places, and that sets Jason Cooper into Andy McEwen's tyre tracks as they launch on down Paddock Hill Bend for lap 7 already. Race 2 here is absolutely flying on by. Luke Pullen's getting big shout outs in the Twitch chat, in the YouTube chat as well. Let's not forget he's in that title fight with Jamie Gulliford. Obviously P3 for Pullen, P7 for Gulliford right now, and again that will just help the momentum carry on flowing towards Luke Pullen as we head into the final 2 races of the season. But people that won't be thinking of the final 2 races of the season just yet is McEwen and Cooper. Cooper has now got right back up onto the back of McEwen there, and McEwen's going to have a heck of a job keeping Jason behind. Jason is a fearsome competitor. We've spoken about the respect that Andy's got for Jason. I'm sure Jason's got the same respect for Andy as well. But yeah, I think Andy's going to have his work cut out if he's going to keep the hard charging Jason Cooper behind. Jason is currently P3 in the championship though, whereas Andy's obviously leading the way. So if there's anybody that Andy has to let on by, aside from Adam Delmont, it's probably going to be Jason Cooper. It wouldn't be a complete disaster for him just there. But at this stage of the championship, every point will be vital. As we see Jason Cooper get the over-under through Sterling, he's going to be looking around the outside of clearways here. Not sure Andy's going to give him the space to complete that move. Although Jason Cooper doesn't really need the room given. Andy's going to have the shorter run down, start, finish straight. He does curve round. They bump doors on the exit of clearways just there. Side by side as they cross the line. Nothing between them. McEwen on the inside, Cooper on the outside down Paddock Hill Bend. McEwen almost gets clear. Oh, they almost rub again. McEwen's still got the inside for Druids. Cooper's still hanging it around the outside there. Again, you've got to favour McEwen to pull on clear through there. It's a tight hairpin, and then you'll be able to defend on down till Graham Hill Bend, where it's a relentless assault hit from Jason Cooper. Andy McEwen has got his mirrors full, and that's a 7-8 car train they've got behind them. You've got to think one mistake, and all of a sudden you'll be from hero to zero.
I'll tell you what, I reckon McEwen is. I think it was an 8-car battle. I think it's just been reduced now slightly because I believe I just heard a little bit of a crashing involving Jamie Gulliford. I reckon Andy McEwen is praying and hoping that Nick Clibbins does something on Jason Cooper because there's only so many times McEwen can defend. And as they go through Hawthorns, he has to dab the brakes because he's a little bit too narrow. And around the outside goes Jason Cooper. He takes that 4th place, and what a move it was. Now it's the turn of Andy McEwen. He'll have this slipstream. He'll have to respond relatively quickly because we've only got a couple of laps left. Adam Delmont still leads the race by about half a second from Luke Cooper, who leads from 3rd place by about half a second of Luke Pullen as well. So really, the fight that we're looking at, the fight for championship battles, is right on your screen. And I know that McEwen won't want to take this line down. All of a sudden, he'll be hoping that Nick Clibbins just buggers off somewhere and decides to leave them a little bit alone. I'm not entirely sure that's going to happen because he is linked with an Excite car, isn't he, Nick Clibbins? He'll be trying to help his sort of pseudo teammates in any way he can. Cooper going for that sort of middle of the road, slightly defensive line without ruining his run too much, not leaving McEwen much option and much of an opportunity to cut back and get up that inside. Cooper knows exactly what to do here. I'm sure he's probably driven Brands Hatch in an MX5 100,000 times. He knows exactly where he needs to put the car to just defend off some of the other drivers and make it a little bit more difficult. McEwen did a good job holding him up, but it's whether or not he can attack back now.
Yeah, it's an absolute battle royale here. Momentum definitely Jason Cooper's favour. He's fought through. He had those 4 cars between them at one point. He's disposed of each and every one of them. And he's now disposed of Andy McEwen. I think that was Luke Pullen I saw there, who's actually now got a cone glued to the front of his car. And that gap's tumbling. He's now 2.5 seconds off the lead. He's 2.5 seconds in front of these guys as well. So I don't know if he's had an incident. He's got rid of his cone at least, which we're glad to see there for Luke. And yeah, he's currently still leading the way in Pro-Am. We saw that incident for Gulliford. Gulliford's actually now DNF'd, and that is going to be vital for the Pro-Am Championship. Again, advantage for Pullen in that. And on subjective advantages, we've not seen him, we've not spoken about him too much at all. He had a dream start, he broke away. Adam Delmont is absolutely bossing race 2 here, Jack.
He is indeed, and I think he's going to cross the line to start another lap. He is indeed. He's got 10 seconds to do it, and just like the previous race, we've crossed the line with, well, they're about, in total, they're about 4 seconds slower than they were last race, because we crossed it with 10 seconds to go last time round. We crossed it with 6 to go this time. So, yeah, the overall race pace is slightly slower, but only by a small margin. And speaking of small margins, Jason Cooper putting his left wheels on the gravel there. Hasn't slowed him up too much. Oh, I thought Nick Clibbins just gave him a little bit of a nudge up the backside of the Year 1 driver, but it hasn't turned into anything too bad. Just going to have a look and see how Jamie Gulliford actually crashed out of that one. I think we heard this in the background. Let's have a look and see exactly how it happened. Going into Surtees, there's a car up the inside. Oh, no, that's just a spin for Jamie Gulliford. Oh, and then a collection. I think that's Lars Fisher giving him a tag around the rear end, which wasn't anything to do with Lars Fisher. Well, nobody's fault, shall I say, but just unfortunate. Right, final lap of the race. Jason Cooper slowed up just a touch. Luke Pullen slowed up an awful lot, actually. There's a potential P3 on the cards here if Pullen keeps going off the circuit. I'm not entirely sure what's happened to Luke, but I think it's probably 1 lap too little for these drivers to take any kind of advantage of that particular battle. and try and get onto the podium, because it looks like he might just have enough room to try and finish this race. We'll have to wait and see. One driver who is going to finish this race, though, rather happily, I imagine, is Adam Delmont, and we're going to have to shoot to him very quickly. We'll shoot straight back to Nick Clemens as soon as we see Adam Delmont take the race victory here and get his evening back on track. He won't be hoping for a full reverse grid this time round, I'm sure of it. He crosses the line, takes the victory, and Andy McEwen just about holds on to the position from Nick Clemens. So Luke Cooper came home in second, Luke Pullen, and managed to hold on to third. Sam Smith comes across the line. He was down in ninth place. We'll have a look towards the further back. 9.64 of Alistair Hatcher. Gets very loose. He won't be happy that I cut to him as he was doing that, I'm sure. But he did manage to hold it, to be fair. So fair play to him. And, well, that's Alistair Hatcher's bit of drama that we've managed to see. Julian Schreur is the driver behind him. He didn't finish the last race. He was 4 laps down. He will be eligible for the reverse grid potentially this time, and we'll be bringing that up on your screens in a couple of minutes' time, because that is all the drivers finishing the race. Actually, no, sorry, it wasn't Julian Schreur, was it? It was actually Glenn Humberstone who had been lapped, finishing just behind Alistair Hatcher. Julian Schreur technically separates them in the standings, although there's an awful lot of damage on the front end of Julian's car. Not entirely sure what happened, unfortunately, but it's not been particularly good, whatever it was. We'll see him cross the line, and we will jump to see the results as soon as possible. But first of all, we've got to do the random number generator race. And to bring it up on our screen yet again, it resets itself, which is really rather frustrating. So we'll change it to 8 and 22 again, of course, which is the full reverse grid translation. And a nice little drum roll in everybody's heads, because I'm not going to do one on the stream. A 14 reverse grid. I will keep that up. 14. Remember that number. In fact, you don't need to remember it because it's there on your screen now. That will be the reverse grid for race number 3. And we can bring you down the results now. Adam Delmont confirmed race winner by 1.2 seconds in the end, ahead of Luke Cooper, who came ahead of Luke Pullen. He also won the Pro-Am victory, did Luke Pullen, and he ended up in 3rd. Jason Cooper was 4th in the end, ahead of Andy McEwen, who was 5th, ahead of Nick Clemens, who was 6th. Lee Holmes in 7th, 8th was James Neath, Sam Smith in 9th, 10th Lars Fisher, 11th Kip Stevens. Leon Jenkins took the AM Class victory, and remember, he's already the AM Class champion, so that'll be yet another popular result by Leon Jenkins. Tom Griffiths was 13th, Colin Sampson was 14th, and will be on pole position for race number 3 of the evening. Douglas Stewart was in 15th, Fiona Siddons in 16th, 17th, Alistair Hatcher, and 18th, Julian Schreur. There's not many drivers left because they were all, unfortunately, DNFing, technically, or not scoring, I should say. Glenn Humberstone, 2 laps down, Jamie Gulliford, 3 laps down, Chris Dixon, 10 laps down, and Adam McNally, 10 laps down. So, very quickly, race. A bit of a frantic race, that one, but a lot of the drivers who were championship contenders did manage to carve their way through. They did manage to finish at the top, and it's a bit of a resurgence now for Adam Delmont.
A bit of a resurgence indeed, and that getting close up the championship picture. I'm waiting for 100% confirmation. I've got Rob Jackson working in the background for us, one of the series organisers who's doing the points. And he's actually told me points ready. So, I'm going to, spoiler alert, here we are. So this is the points so far, based after race number 2. Andy McEwen leading the way. He's got 2,414 points. He's got Jason Cooper. Remember, he started the night in P4 in the championship. The charge is on. He's in P2, 37 points behind Andy. But in very, very, very close company, almost as close as it gets. Tom Griffiths is in P number 3 on 38 points behind Andy, so 1 point in it. Then Adam Delmont, 51 points behind the 4. He's closed that gap back up, so 51 points separate our top 4 with 2 races to go. So only 30 minutes of racing action left in the season, and it is as tight as it can possibly get between the Excite, the Cooper, 5-star Racing, and the Team U1 car just there. Also looking back at our Pro-Am category with the DNF for Gulliford and the strong performance for Pullen, it's 107 points in Pro-Am, the difference Luke Pullen has one of his palms on the trophy just there in that one. And as we already confirmed at the start of race 2, Leon Jenkins is our M class winner. Apparently, it's not quite mathematically impossible in power for Jamie Gulliver to win, but it's one heck of a tall order for Luke Pullen to slip up here. Wow, I can't wait. I'm going to need to go and grab a drink, I think, guys. So we'll be heading over to a short ad break whilst we load on into the next session. Don't go anywhere. Top yourself up with some fluids, folks. Be there or be square. Race 3 will be hitting our screens in the next few moments.
Welcome back, everyone, to the BSR MX5 trophy. It's round 10, Brands Hatch GP. It's the finale, and it's the penultimate race of the season coming up for you. Top 14 reverse grid, very, very much in the middle, to be honest. It's about 2/3 of the way up the grid, so not a massive reverse grid, but enough to add a little bit of contention in there, that's for sure. If anybody is out there wondering what the championship standings sound like, look like, well, Andy McEwen still leads the way, but only just. Basically, the general rule of thumb is if you are within about 100 points in the BSR championship, then it can sway one way or the other. And there are 4 drivers who, at the moment, are within that magic 100 points. In fact, actually, they're within 51 points. And that's Andy McEwen, Jason Cooper, who is 37 points behind, Tom Griffiths, who is 38 points behind, 1 point different between second and third, and then Adam Delmont, who's had a pretty much dead last and a race victory to his name so far this evening. He's 51 points behind. So any of those 4 drivers, Reese, can still end up winning this one.
Indeed, yes. You know what? I wouldn't like to not only put my mortgage out, I wouldn't even like to risk a fiver on who's going to win this championship right now. I definitely wouldn't want to be Jack Oliphant when he gets put on the spot later on, heading into race 4, who's going to win. That's for sure. You've got that to look forward to, so think about it. And I'm just going to take this moment, just we've got the final few seconds, just to say what a pleasure it's been to call it. I'm sure we're going to get so excited here. It's heading into round 39 out of 40 here this season. It's blinked and you miss it kind of stuff. But we've got half an hour left of racing action, 2 15-minute races, 1 more random number generated reverse grid. I can't wait. Why don't you take some through as we click on over the grid for the penultimate time?
Yeah, and it's Colin Sampson who's on pole position with Tom Griffiths alongside him in second place. Tom Griffiths, got to be a favourite for this one, I would say, actually. Especially with his position in the championship. He's looking to score a lot of points now in this race 3. Leon Jenkins in third, with Kip Stevens in fourth. Fifth is Lars Fisher. Sixth, Sam Smith. James Neve is in 7th. Lee Holmes in 8th. Nick Clemens in 9th. Andy McEwen 10th. Jason Cooper and Luke Pullen are 11th and 12th. 13th, Luke Cooper, Adam Delmont in 14th, Douglas Stewart 15th, Fiona Siddons in 16th, Alistair Hatcher in 17th, with Julian Schroer in 18th, Glenn Humberstone 19th, Jamie Gulliford 20th, Chris Dixon 21st, and Adam McNally starting all the way back in 22nd and last position. Right, I felt like I had to get that through pretty quickly, and the reason why is on your screen. We've got lights, we got engine noise, we got a race on our hands here. The BSR MX5 Championship penultimate round is a go here at Brands Hatch. Colin Sampson with a decent start. Tom Griffiths also a pretty hefty margin in second place. Gets to the apex comfortably, but it's all about to kick off behind him. Lars Fisher is another driver to be keeping an eye out on, as Colin Sampson's going to have to go defensive on Tom Griffiths into Druids for the first time. Tom Griffiths around the outside. He'll be absolutely desperate to get into the race lead as quickly as Adam Delmont did in the previous race, because he saw how it went earlier on. Who's that that's gone round? It's James Neve, not Andy McEwen. I saw a year 1 car. I almost had jumped out of my seat, but it is I believe James Neve, who has fallen down the order. He's not quite dead last place, but we'll catch up with how that happened and what on earth happened, to be honest, through the rest of this opening lap. That is Tom Griffiths then in the race lead. Sam Smith is in 4th place. Andy McEwen already back up into 5th. He's gained 5 positions off the race start. I had a quick chat with him. Well, I say quick chat. I've sent him a message. He sent me one back in the interlude. He said he's not enjoying this at all. Apart from that, I can't repeat really what he said. But the gist of it is that he's very tense and he's not enjoying it. Well, it could be a very enjoyable evening if he takes home a championship. And it looks like Leon Jenkins is trying to get out of his way, but he's not succeeded. Andy McEwen has got off. Andy McEwen been tagged round, and the rear end of the car, I think, just got a little bit of a touch, and that is why he was not enjoying it. He was desperate for this not to happen, and unfortunately it's going to be a bit of a harder work now for this race 3. He needs to rescue some points out of this one. Nick Clemens, I believe, has been forced out wide through Sterling's as well. Leon Jenkins is very much involved with an awful lot that's going on in this particular race. Jason Cooper, though, goes past him cleanly and is into 4th place. Adam Delmont is into 5th. Andy McEwen's worst nightmare for race number 3 has just come true. And I tell you what, championships don't get spicier than this these days. The BSR MX5 Championship, wow, oh wow, has it provided some drama.
Lap 1 drama indeed. Andy McEwen trying to go on the outside of Leon Jenkins just there, and he just got tugged. He just got turned around, and all of a sudden he was off out into the kitty litter. He was all the way back in P18. At the front though, dream start for Tom Griffiths, hitting the front of our field. And what he won't be too pleased about is the fact that he's got Fisher and Smith right on his gearbox. Two incredibly quick drivers there. We've got the replay of what happened to Mr. McEwen, and yet he just, you know what? Leon was up the inside. It looked like he was lifting out. Andy thought he was going to get clear by the time he turned in for the apex. It didn't quite happen, and Randy went. A racing deal. One of those things. But it's Tom in the lead. Fisher second, Smith third. Then it's Cooper, Delmont, and Stevens 4, 5, and 6. As I'm looking down the order, though, Andy McEwen has already recovered back to P14. I think there's been a bit of midfield carnage happening there. He's got his teammate James Neve right behind him too. So not a complete disaster for Andy just yet. He'll be hopeful of a reverse grid draw, a reverse grid pull for the final race of the evening. But one person that's not even thinking of race 4 just yet is Tom Griffiths. He's got, his Nick Clibban's off, and that's a lot of heavy damage to the right rear of that car. You can see the suspension has seen better days as Lars Fisher up the inside of Tom Griffiths as they're approaching Paddock Hill. Fisher will just about have the lead as they cross the line. Who will have the lead at the apex? It's going to be Fisher with a shorter run through the corner. Will Griffiths get the over-under? It looks like he does. He's up the inside as they head up into Druids. Who can break latest? Who can break boldest? Griffiths with a shorter run through the corner gets back clear on the run down to Graham Hill. It's up the hill, it's down the hill. Brands Hatch is a roller coaster. BSR MX5s is a roller coaster, and it can all change so quickly.
My emotions are on a roller coaster right now, let alone the damn drivers. This is very, very stressful indeed, and I'm loving it. I'm loving every minute of it. It's been brilliant. I will hopefully bring up what happened to Leon Jenkins. He did have a bit of an off, and I know he's a fan favourite, but you can't take your eyes off what's going on your screens right now because Lars Fisher trying to go around the outside. We've seen Jason Cooper manage to do it in a couple of races. Is his teammate Lars Fisher going to be able to pull it off? No. Yes, maybe, I don't know. I won't repeat the question. But Lars Fisher trying to hold on to that momentum is just about losing out, I would say, because the track just keeps turning right. And that should be Tom Griffiths' race lead for the time being. I've tried to go around the outside there of somebody before in real life, and it ends very, very badly. Luckily, Lars Fisher managed to hold on to onto the track, but he loses out on second position. He drops down into third, and now he is behind the ever-present, it seems, Sam Smith. All of this, though, Reese, has just... It's fantastic how we see Jason Cooper just all of a sudden appear, isn't it? It's eating into the hands of Jason Cooper right now. Lars Fisher did exactly what he needed to do as a teammate, and that is hold everyone up. Tom Griffiths on that previous lap was 2 seconds slower than Jason Cooper. So even though Lars Fisher didn't maybe get past, he's done exactly what he needed to do. And if he was racing in real life for an actual team and his co-driver were going for a championship like Jason Cooper is, he would be getting a pay rise right now.
He's doing the Checo Perez job just there. Now he kind of needs to. Now that he's slowed them down, now that he's let Jason catch up. If I was Jason, if I was Lars, I'd be trying to orchestrate a change of positions, and it's going to be difficult because there's not a big gap behind them. You've got Adam Delmont up in P number 5, another one of our championship rivals, another one of our championship contenders. So it's not going to be easy to let him go. As Lars tries to go all around the outside of Sam Smith now. Oh, he just about makes that work through Hawthorne, through the right hand they go again. The track ever turning right. It's a longer run. I think it's going to be a carbon copy of what happened the previous lap in the fact that Lars just can't quite finish that move. Or can he?
Yes, he can.
Or can he? Yes, he can.
Very nicely done, isn't it, by Lars Fisher there? He managed to hold on to it. Sam Smith was a little bit kinder, potentially. Maybe just scrubbed 1 or 2 miles an hour off more than he did previously. And, well, that was every invite that Lars Fisher needed. He held on to it. He was brave. He trusted Sam Smith. as he should, because Sam Smith is a very good driver. And he managed to hold on to that and get the position away. So he's on the second step of the podium for the time being. Tom Griffiths leads the way. So if you want highlights of how badly that is for Andy McEwen, two drivers behind him in the championship who were pretty much tied on points together was Jason Cooper, who now sits in 4th, and Tom Griffiths, who now sits in 1st on this particular race. And if you're an update for Andy McEwen, he's got himself back up to 11th, which is not bad, Reese, but it's not what he needs, is it? He needs better.
It's not an ultimate disaster, but it's not good. And it's really, really not good. And you've got to think, for Andy, he's got to be thinking, you know what, I'm going to be entering this finale pretty much dead level on points, if not even at a slight disadvantage. It's spun around so much for him just here. And yet the worst people you can imagine for him are currently at the front. It looks like Jason Cooper trying to repeat Lars Fischer's move from the previous lap. Around the outside of Hawthorne, not quite. Oh, and then he gets squeezed as a nudge. Oh, as Sam Smith goes wide now, they're going to be 3 wide. Delmont's going to be looking for the inside on Jason Cooper as well. We know Adam Delmont always fancies a gap. And he gets back on through to P4 as well. Cooper, oh, Smith's, oh, he's holding on to that. Hold on to it, Cowboy, you can do it. He's in P5 ahead of the ever-present tonight, Kip Stevens. He's not had the best of championships. He's missed a few rounds, but Kip is doing a great job. On the subject of great job, Lars Fischer's now caught back up to Tom Griffiths as well. Just a quarter of a second there, and then you've got the always hard-charging Cooper in 3rd. This is going to be an absolute nail-biter all the way to the finish, folks.
I don't want to call Sam Smith out, but that is the 3rd race in a row tonight. We've been very complimentary of him. That is the 3rd race in a row tonight that he has thrown it off the circuit in one instance or another, unfortunately. So imagine the positions he could have been in tonight if he hadn't gone off the circuit. In the first race, I think he went off and allowed McEwen through. In the second race, I think it might have been Cooper. And in this race, it was Cooper as well. So he's been a little bit erratic. He's been very clean with everybody, but he seems to be throwing himself off, which for himself is probably an extremely frustrating trend, but he is being very quick, so maybe just a little bit of a learning curve that Sam Smith needs to hold on to here when he's actually in the traffic. Lars Fischer though, you know what he's going to try here, Reese, don't you? He's going to try the outside line, he's going to try and keep hold of it. Tom Griffiths though, I imagine, will be a lot more motivated to keep that lead of the race, but Lars Fischer yet again doing exactly what he needs to do, catch up to the driver in a championship battle, slow him up, and allow Jason Cooper to catch him up. Textbook.
Indeed, that's what he's doing. And he's got a very wide MX5 there. As they jump over the inside of the curb, there is a slowdown there that they need to be careful of. But yeah, it's Griffiths, Fischer, Cooper, Delmont. I mean, apart from Fischer, 3 out of 4 championship contenders in our top 4 right there. This could just go absolutely either way. We could have a moment of conversation as Fischer trying to get the inside. Griffiths shuts the door and Fischer has to wiggle his way out of it. And that lets Jason Cooper up the inside of his teammate. His teammate's still going around the outside. His teammate's not giving up there. But it looks like Jason Cooper's got the inside. Adam Delmont's looking to the inside as well as they head up into Druids. Tom Griffiths has got these 5 MX5s behind him. And oh wow, you just wouldn't want to be. Oh, it's the 2 5-star teammates. Oh, Fischer nearly squeezes Cooper.
Oh, he has.
Fischer does squeeze him onto the grass. Oh wow, oh blimey, he takes a jump, he takes a slide, he drops to the back of the pack. Adam Delmont flies his way on through into P2. Great opportunism by him just there. But heart in your mouth stuff if you are a 5-star fan. Oh, I mean, Jack Oliphant's reaction, I think, just sums all of that up.
I mean, that's the first time I've taken my hand off the mouse so far tonight. Obviously, trying to do all the cameras and everything like that. That was incredible. And Sam Smith, again, throws it off the circuit a little bit through Hawthorns. And I just can't believe what I've just seen. We were complimenting them. We were assuming that they were working together. I genuinely thought as they're going over the start-finish line, when they were basically going side by side, I thought that was Lars Fischer just basically giving the slipstream to Cooper and allowing him to go. I didn't think he'd hold on to any kind of ambition on beating them. I'm absolutely amazed. And the amazing thing is, I mean, Cooper, after all that, is actually right back onto the back tracks, shall we say, of Lars Fischer yet again. But this time it's for 4th place, not 2nd. And like you mentioned, that's allowed Adam Delmont through. Not a massive points game for Delmont, but every little helps, you could argue. Tom Griffiths has now got a 4/10 gap. That is arguably about 1 lap worth of breathing room. By the time they probably get down to Hawthorns, that'll probably be reduced to nothing. But that could have been a massive disaster for Cooper in terms of his championship battle.
It could have been. I mean, we saw him bouncing and jumping around on the outside of Graham Hill. Fisher lets him on. I'm assuming he lets him on through.
Right, yeah, that's
and actually, he's had a stern talking to through whatever Discord server they're in. I know if I was his teammate, I'd have turned the blue in that moment. I'm sure. Oh no! Is that Tom Griffiths going? Tom, no! Tom Griffiths spins from the lead. Championship permutations right there. Sorry for any headphone users with that. I've gone up about 4 octaves, but he just gets a wheel on the grass. He's pushing so hard. Round he goes. The pressure potentially getting to him. He spins off away nice and cleanly, not impeding anybody on the way back on. But that gives Adam Delmont the lead. Gives him the lead for the 2nd race in a row. He could go back-to-back here for the wins. Back-to-back for reviving his championship chances. And it's now Delmont from Smith and somehow Jason Cooper. He's been rallycrossing. He's in P3. Fisher 4th, Stevens 5th. And then Jamie Gulliford has actually got past Tom Griffiths, although there's 2 temps in it. So it looks like Griffiths will probably be making his way back past any time soon.
And this is potentially the best way it could finish from Andy McEwen's perspective, who's got himself into 10th. Adam Delmont is 4th in the championship. He's as far away from McEwen as any championship contender is. But Jason Cooper, who's about to slot his way potentially into 2nd, he's got Sam Smith. And like I mentioned, Sam Smith has been particularly quick. He's also had a little bit of history of throwing it off the circuit and pushing a little bit too hard. Goes to the inside. I thought he was going to cut across the nose of Jason Cooper, but he manages to hold on to it for the time being. Yeah, as I said, if this finishes like this with Tom Griffiths, who's just moved ahead of Jamie Gulliford, like you were theorising just before. In fact, they're having a quite good battle, actually, aren't they? So let's have a quick look at it. Around the outside goes Tom Griffiths through Druids, and he'll have the inside for Graham Hill Bend. And as we cut to it, all calms down, but it doesn't calm down at the front end because Jason Cooper has slotted his way into 2nd. Sam Smith gets a little bit of a poor run, and that allows Lars Fisher to go up and have a little bit of a go. This is exactly what Jason Cooper, I'm sure, would want, although I'm not 100% sure he'd want his teammate anywhere near him anymore. But he'd want him to be playing rear gunner to Sam Smith, and Smith, who holds on to that position, he's seen that move before by Lars Fisher, and he doesn't want to entertain it this time round. And amazingly, we've only got 20 seconds left of this race. This could be our final lap because it's been a little bit slower than the previous races, as Lars Fisher that goes very wide. Jason Cooper, yeah, is still on the circuit. Adam Delmont, I think, there's 30 seconds left. I think we'll probably end up getting 1 more lap out of this. So it's still Delmont, it's Cooper, it's Smith, Fisher, Stevens round out the top 5. We mentioned Kip Stevens quite a lot without actually really talking about him. Reece, you mentioned it a couple of potentially even this race. I've actually got it mixed up, but he has been a very consistent and very quick round Brands Hatch GP, even if he hasn't had the best championship. We cross the line with 3 seconds left to go, which means we do have 1 more lap, and it's 1 more lap for Jason Cooper to try and take this race victory and really put the pressure on McEwen, who still sits. He's got himself up to 8th place, to be fair, has McEwen, so he is making up positions as and when they're available, but they're not always that available. That is the problem, and he's got a fair few seconds. Let's have a very quick look at him. Yeah, Luke Cooper just ahead. He'd be doing well if he tries to catch that one, but we're going to focus on the race lead, Reece.
Yes, Delmont versus Cooper, rival versus rival, as they head down the long back straight out of Surtees ago. Delmont just getting on the curb on exit won't help his run. He's glued to the inside. Cooper jumps to the outside as they head down into Hawthorn. They're side by side. Neither one of them will want to end up off the road. Neither one of them will want to end up in the steward's office after the race. That is not where we want to see this championship decided. But neither one of them will want to give an inch as they're still side by side. Brilliant respect, give brilliant room. And I think Jason Cooper's about to clear Adam Delmont. Adam Delmont's taken the shorter run down. He pushes up that inside curb. Cooper's got 4 wheels on the grass. He's got the inside for Sterling, however. They're still side by side. Oh my days, oh my word. They're managing to maintain this. They're heading down to Clearways for the final time here in race 3. And it looks like Adam Delmont's going to get clear. Will Jason Cooper have a crossover opportunity? It's going to be a drag race to the line here. But race 3 in the BSR MX5 series, is going to go the way of Adam Delmont, only just from Jason Cooper. Sam Smith gets third, Fisher gets fourth, and then Kip Stevens rounds out our top number 5. Jack, what a race there. Andy McEwen somehow recovers to P8. I'm not sure what drama happened there on the final lap, but he gained an extra spot as well. Colin Sampson wins the AM category, coming home in P9 overall. I've never heard Leon Jenkins not quite winning. Luke Pullen, he's having. I think we're going to call that a celebratory championship win for him. He's beat Jamie Gulliford, and I think he is now mathematically our crown winner as well. But here we are, roll the tape here for the final lap. We've got Lars Fisher here on camera as well. Just see how close that was for the final spot on the podium. Oh.
Yeah, I'm just trying to slow it down because we didn't really give it the respect it deserves, but that was a proper photo finish with Sam Smith just edging it ahead of Lars Fisher. You can see on your screens there. I just thought I'd give them a little bit of the spotlight that they deserve, because those two also had a fantastic last lap. We just didn't catch any of it because we were so focused on their teammates just ahead of them. But yeah, brilliant racing by all. You know, I went away from the BSR MX5 for quite some time, and you sort of do other things. You sort of do other commentaries and broadcasting and everything like that, and come back to it, and I just don't understand why I decided to go away in the first place. I'll come back to it. It's just brilliant, isn't it? Really, frankly, yeah, loving every minute of it, and we'll probably leading into race 4 give you the results, because they might well be take a little bit of time. But here are the results. Now, they're on the screen at the moment, but remember, we've got to do this bad boy. We've got to do the random number generator for the final time this evening, final time this season as well. What's the reverse grid going to be? 22 is your max, 8 is your minimum. Let's go. And it is an 8. It's an 8. Andy McEwen. Whoa. I'll tell you what, that last lap for McEwen's going to be very, very important. And unless you're listening to me, if you're watching the stream, you will understand why then. Adam Delmont takes the race victory. Jason Cooper in second place. Sam Smith in third. Lars Fisher in fourth. Kip Stevens fifth. Sixth, Tom Griffiths. Luke Cooper in seventh. And on pole position for race number 4 is your current championship leader, Andy McEwen. Oh, wow, that is the perfect draw with all the championship contenders in a nice little gaggle. Oh, anyway, Colin Sampson in 9th place. Lee Holmes rounds out the top 10 with James Neve in 11th. 12th is Alistair Hatcher. Glenn Humberstone in 13th. Luke Pullen in 14th. 15th, Fiona Siddons. Chris Dixon is 16th. Douglas Stewart was 17th. And then 2 laps down was Jamie Gulliford in 18th place. Adam McNally was 5 laps down. Leon Jenkins was 9 laps down. Nick Clibbins was 9 laps down. And so was Julian Schroe, actually, who was 10 laps down. Right. I mean, we both need to take a break there, Reese, don't we? So we'll be back in a couple of minutes' time. We're going to jump into the next server. I can see the championship standings being updated, so we won't bring you them just yet. We'll allow them to be confirmed so we can bring you them as fact as we lead into the final race of the season. Please don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a second. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it comes down to this. We've been saying all night that it's the finale of the BSR MX5 Championship because we are at Brands Hatch and because it is round 10. But this is the true finale. It is the last race of the season. And I know I'm trying to build this up, and commentators, we always try and build up a championship, but I've genuinely never seen the BSR MX5 closer. I'm going to draw your attention to what is a pretty poor way of representing it, considering the amount of classic good graphics that we've had so far this year. And unfortunately, we're going to end with this one. But it does do the job. Andy McEwen on 2,486 points. Jason Cooper, 2,469. I'll just say 17 points behind. Adam Delmont, 21 points behind. 4 points difference between second and third. And Tom Griffiths, 32 points behind Andy McEwen. The top 4 drivers in this championship separated by 32 points. Now, Reese, who's currently chatting to a few of the drivers to try and line up some interviews, has got the hard job now of trying to figure it out through the race. And we've already seen how quickly positions can change in an MX5 race at the BSR. There's only 15 minutes as well. He won't get much time to figure it all out. But effectively, Reese, what we're saying is any one of these drivers could win it very, very easily. I mean, Reese is so stunned and he's so taken aback that he's decided to take a vow of silence by the sounds of it. But yeah, effectively, it isn't quite winner takes all. It's a little bit more complicated than that. The point system in BSR, as I said, I'm leaving it to Reese because I'm trying to control the cameras and everything like that. It's his job for this particular race. But it's effectively, if these 4 finish in the top sort of 4 spots, then it gets a little bit complicated. If any one of them has a mare, they will lose the opportunity to win a championship, and that includes Andy McEwen. If he has a race like he just did, where he went off the road, he finished 8th, still a half-decent position, that will not be good enough to win a championship for him, he thinks. Or we would think, anyway, this time round. So this is, I mean, as I said, we're trying to hype this up because we can't emphasise enough how close this is. And I'm very, very excited for it. Reese, are you back with us?
I'm back with you. No vow of silence here. I was just organising interviews once we're done. And yeah, it's going to be so close. I've got my socks off. I'm going to be doing the maths for us as the races are running. But it's so close at the top. And whoever wins is just going to be the most deserving champion we've had so far. Speaking to all the drivers, obviously talking about interviews, none of them are claiming to be nervous, which I think might be potentially a bit of a lie, a bit of gamesmanship. But you've got the points on the screen. You can see it 1, 2, 3, and 4. Jack, as we load into the grid, one-word answer. Who's going to win?
I'm going to go for McEwen because he's on pole position for the final race of the season. Andy McEwen, it was a top 8 reverse grid. It landed perfectly for him. Luke Cooper will line up alongside him. Tom Griffiths will be 3rd. Apologies. Kip Stevens will be 4th. Lars Fisher will be 5th. Sam Smith in 6th. Jason Cooper in 7th. Adam Delmont in 8th place. Colin Sampson is 9th and Lee Holmes is 10th. 11th and 12th is James Neve and Alistair Hatcher. Got to keep an eye on whether we're going. 13th, Glenn Humberstone. 14th, Luke Pullen. Fiona Siddons in 15th. Chris Dixon 16th. Douglas Stewart in 17th. Jamie Gulliford in 18th. Leon Jenkins in 19th. Nick Clibbins in 20th. And Julian Schroer in 21st. And very quickly, because I think everybody will understand if we're going to focus on the front battle. The AM class, Leon Jenkins has taken that AM class victory for the season. He's taken the championship. And I believe Gulliford has taken the Pro-Am. We will confirm that through the race. Right. There's a lot of engine noise, there's a lot of angst, and there's a lot of wheel spin, but not that much for Andy McEwen, who gets a good start. Tom Griffiths is straight into 2nd place after Luke Cooper got bogged down off the line with an awful lot of wheel spin, and then it's a bit of a jumble in that mid-pack. Jason Cooper's launched himself over the curb to slot himself into 3rd place immediately. Adam Delmont's losing position to Kip Stevens, and he's been swallowed in the pack. Adam Delmont not getting the start he needed, and he sees all 3 of his championship rivals straight away get into the race lead and pulling away from a fair few of them. Tom Griffiths in 2nd place is behind Andy McEwen. Jason Cooper has got his rear gunner and ever reliable teammate, apart from potentially the last race, Lars Fisher, just behind him as well. So all of a sudden, Delmont has not only got to get past the likes of Luke Cooper, he's got to get past Lars Fischer as well. We know how difficult that is. And as we go down towards Hawthorns, it's going to be McEwen under attack from Tom Griffith to start with. What's Tom Griffith going to do? Is he going to launch one at the inside, or is he going to try and work together with McEwen to try and get a gap between himself and the likes of Jason Cooper and the other rivals? I think that's personally too early in the race to be thinking of anything like that, but Tom Griffith's clearly not as aggressive on McEwen as he possibly could be. He's going to just try and pile the pressure on. He's going to try and make McEwen make a mistake himself. We've seen all of these championship contenders pretty much perfect. They don't make mistakes on their own, and hopefully that's not the commentator's curse for this particular battle. The 5-star teammates of Cooper and Fischer are hunting them down as we see a spin for Sam Smith. And I believe Luke Cooper was involved in that as well, not Adam Delmont. He still runs in 5th. So all of a sudden, it's only Lars Fischer that is the fly in the ointment when it comes to the fact that all of our 4 championship competitors are in the top 4 of the final race of the season. Reese, you couldn't, I just couldn't have picked this more perfectly.
No, and first blood to McEwen for the championship. The reason I say first blood is he's got that clean start, he's got that clean getaway, and Tom Griffiths wasn't aggressive at all down into Hawthorn. And that's that Andy McEwen lead the end of lap 1, and he gets 2 bonus points for Tom Griffiths. He's been turned around by Jason Cooper.
That is big, big news. We'll see when he comes back on. But what I want to see first is the gearbox view. I'm going to just play that again. From the gearbox. Oh, there's contact there. There is contact there, and Tom Griffith's championship hopes are out the window. It's now between McEwen, Cooper, and Delmont. That's all we can really confirm. And Delmont is piling the pressure on Cooper's teammate, Lars Fischer. That is absolute heartbreak for Tom Griffiths. He started this evening in 2nd place in the championship. He was in 4th. He was the almost, well, not outside bet, because he was far too close mathematically for it to be an outside bet. But he was 4th in the championship. Now it's between just the top 3. McEwen, Cooper, Delmont is how it lines up in the championship. And surprise, surprise, it's pretty much how it lines up in this particular race.
Lars Fischer, the only fly in the ointment there. Now, speaking to Rob Jackson, who is the points wizard at BSR, and he's been helping me out all night, so a massive thank you to him. And he sent me a list of who scores what for finishing there as well. If Jason Cooper wins this race, then Andy McEwen only has to finish 4th.
I see.
That's the permutation. That's how that shakes. We see Adam Delmont get up the inside of Lars Fischer. So that's now 1, 2, 3 for the championship. 1, 2, 3 contenders as well. But at the minute, Andy McEwen is exactly where he needs to be, and he's pretty much matched to the nearest 1,000th lap time there with Jason Cooper. They've all had an instant point on that last lap. No one scored the fastest lap point just yet. Kip Stevens currently holds it actually in P6. But we'll see what kind of lifetimes they can set on in there. But no, I'll be keeping abreast of all the points and all the maths for us here as Jack takes us through the action as they come out of Surtees almost 3 wide.
Adam Delmont has got a lot of pressure from a 5-star car. It's not going to be Jason Cooper. It's still going to be Lars Fischer for the time being. It looks like that one's just settled itself down. So let's very quickly have a look at how they go 2 by 2. Behind is James Neve, Kip Stevens, Luke Pullen, and Lee Holmes, isn't it? Actually, who are very nicely battling it out between themselves. Very respectfully done as well. I am keeping a very close eye on how the top 4 are doing, just in case we see anybody go underneath the 10th of a second mark between them, and that often indicates that they're going to be having a little bit of a battle. Jason Cooper holds the fastest lap of the race by 100th of a second on that previous lap. Is that going to be enough to potentially secure a championship? Well, we'll have to wait and see. They do get fastest lap points, I do believe, so every little helps when it comes down to the stats at the end of the evening. Let's have a look and see how they're getting on with Adam Delmont and Lars Fischer. Now, this isn't obviously a major championship battle in terms of between these two, but it is important for Delmont to hold on to that 3rd place just to score the most amount of points possible in case these two end up taking each other out. And I'm not saying that because they're dirty drivers, but I am saying they'll both be pretty desperate to try and hold on or try and get this race victory. Cooper needs to win it. McEwen just needs to hold on to 4th. Is there a possibility? I mean, we both know Andy pretty well. Reese, as he goes a little bit wide into Surtees and opens the door up, but he doesn't quite get the run does Cooper. He actually came out off the throttle a little bit. Fair play to him. But is there a possibility where McEwen just decides, you know what? You can go. I'm going to sit in your slipstream because he knows that Cooper is quick enough just to let them drive away from the two behind? Or does McEwen hold on for dear life and try and take the championship with a race victory?
He's got a big call to make under pressure here, Jack. He's currently got the 2 points lead lap. Obviously, the moment Jason Cooper overtakes, I'm not saying that Jason Cooper will overtake him, but if Jason Cooper overtakes him, those 2 points will cancel out. Jason Cooper did set an absolutely blinding 37.3 in Andy's draft that time by, which is by comfortably the fastest lap of the race. And I can't see that getting beat. So they're currently 2 points each for bonus points right now. And yeah, you know what? Andy McEwen, he's known for playing the percentages. He's known for not always having the outright pace of his championship rivals, but through some very smart driving through all 10 race meetings this season. He's kept himself not just in contention, but absolutely in the pound seats here as we reach this finale in Brands Hatch. And yeah, you know what? He might decide with 2-3 laps to go. You know what? If I just finish second, settle for second in the race, settle for first in the championship, because that's it. That's what we're playing for, Jack. And yeah, all status quo so far as I head down through Graham Hill Bend.
You know as well as I do, though, Reese, that as soon as you decide, oh, that's a big look up the inside into Surtees, and Cooper, making intentions shown very early, had to dab the brakes because I think he was a little bit late, probably a little bit too ambitious. That'll ruin his run down towards Duffer's Dip and Hawthorns and onto the GP loop. But it's a big sign of intent, isn't it? And if anything, it just invites Adam Delmont to come and have a little bit of a play. Speaking of Adam Delmont, he's still fighting Lars Fischer. He hasn't been able to break away from him. He hasn't been able to catch up to the top two, but the more that Jason Cooper does things like that, going up the inside of people at Surtees, the more likelihood that that is going to happen. I'll finish my point now. You know as well as I, Reese, because you are a much better sim racer than I, and that as soon as you start taking your foot off the throttle a little bit and you try and go to 90% pace, or you try and go to 95% pace even, as soon as you stop trying 100% like you practice every single lap, the mistakes become massive, don't they? And you can really easily throw something away without really meaning to. Almost as if Adam Delmont is nearly throwing this third place away. Well, not throwing it away, that'd be unfair, because Lars Fischer is doing a brilliant job at attacking him. Oh, change for the race lead, potentially, because Jason Cooper's got a run on McEwen around the outside of Paddock Hill Bend. He holds onto the brakes for a little bit longer, does Cooper, and he knows that's because McEwen is not going to let him get any kind of run if he can help it. Going in towards Druids on the inside is McEwen. Cooper trying to get that outside line again. He gets the car straightened up a little bit earlier, but can't get on the power because there is a year one MX5 in the way going towards Graham Hill Bend.
Yeah, Andy beautifully positioning his car here, keeping Jason very much behind him. We'll see if Jason sends that move up the inside of Surtees. He's fought better of it this lap at least, although that will help him get the run out down towards Hawthorn, which is the longest straight on the track, and potentially one of the best overtaking opportunities into the fast and committed corner as it is. Adam Delmont is still 2 seconds behind these guys. It's 2 by 2 in the battles here. And you've got to think, you know what? If Andy just lets Jason go around the outside, he's not going to let him go. Is he going to slot inside?
Ooh,
no, he's not. He stays on the inside. Oh, so tight. Enough space given, but not too much space given. And all of a sudden, Andy McEwen is now slotted into P2 behind Jason Cooper. And he needs to stick with now because that's let Adam Delmont, he's now a second behind them. And that's brought it into a 4-way fight for the lead of this race, for the lead of this championship. It's now 3 attempts. The gap's nothing. The fight all the way through there has basically turned this into a 4-horse race. And all of a sudden, Andy McEwen's in that position where, you know what? He's got to be really, really careful because he doesn't want to finish P4. P3, great. P4, you start to risk things like the bonus point for fastest lap, the bonus point for laps led, potentially swinging this result. We could see this championship, guys, decided by a point or 2 as Delmont runs wide. In fact, McEwen had 2 wheels on the gravel as well. Delmont had all 4 wheels out there. And McEwen trying to go around the outside of Druids. No dice there, though. He'll still have the inside for Graham Hill Bend against Delmont, though, so no danger of being attacked into there. All of a sudden, these guys are just bunched up, and a small mistake will spell disaster. Just ask Tom Griffiths. He's all the way down in P13, unfortunately.
If you ask Andy McEwen right now, who is the last driver you would want in 4th place he would pick Lars Fischer. I guarantee you. Unless it was Tom Griffiths, to be fair, he would pick Lars Fischer second, I reckon. Because he knows that he's just going to be working hard to try and help Jason Cooper. And look, Cooper's already getting a little bit of a gap. He's hoping that Delmont and Fischer hold each other up, because McEwen is under a real pressure now. All of a sudden, he had the race lead earlier on, and since he's gone into second, it's been nothing but pressure for McEwen to deal with. Fischer goes around the outside of Adam Delmont, and Delmont goes from third into fourth. And all of a sudden, McEwen is forming a sandwich with 5-star teammates surrounding him left and right. Delmont is desperate to get back up there. If he's got any chance of securing a championship tonight, he needs to be winning this race effectively. And at the moment, the only way that's going to happen is if the top 2 and top 3 potentially even, to be fair, make a little bit of contact. Oh, there's going to be a switchback here for McEwen. He got that angled really nicely to get nicer back on the power. This couldn't be any closer. 12 minutes gone. Cooper on the inside. They're going to go 3 wide. Lars Fischer on the outside. McEwen trying to be the wedge in the middle. And Delmont swifts his way up the inside and tries to get the run into Druids. It's not going to happen just yet for the race lead, but he could go from 4th into 2nd in 2 corners, and I think he's just about nailed it as they go down towards Graham Hill Bend. No, the trick to the camera, they turn it a little bit. The Excite driver on the outside, the Year 1 drive on the inside, and there's contact with Lars Fischer. Lars Fischer makes contact with not only McEwen, but also Adam Delmont as they head towards Surtees on the back straight. This could not be any more dramatic if we tried, and they're going to be 3 wide on the exit. Jason Cooper looks in his rearview mirrors, laughing his head off, I'm sure, because he's getting a lovely little gap. Delmont gets into 2nd place. Fischer and McEwen are going to be side by side, and then there's a whole gaggle of cars who have absolutely no invitation in the championship but want to try and claim as much pride as they possibly can. Lars Fischer, we've seen it so many times around the outside of Hawthorns, and is he going to be able to pull it off yet again against the Year 1 driver? We've seen it against James Neve. Are we going to see it against Andy McEwen as well? I think we might well give it a good go for Lars Fischer. The last thing that McEwen will want is any kind of contact with a driver that's not in a championship battle. He needs to finish in 3rd, and 3rd alone, and that is exactly where he's staying for the time being. Jason Cooper leads the way, but look at how close Adam Delmont is on his tail. I'm absolutely loving this. Apologies if your headphones have broken. In fact, I don't apologise, because I'm sure you can fully well understand my predicament right now. This is edge of your seat stuff. This is the first time this season I've actually been out of my seat, Reese. It's been that exciting. And with Jason Cooper defending into Paddock Hill Bend, it's not only allowing Adam Delmont to have a sniff, it's also allowing Andy McEwen to get a run into Druids as well. I keep trying to find opportunities to hand back over to you, Reese, but I just can't take my eyes off the action right now. It's absolutely brilliant, and McEwen doesn't get the run down into Graham Hill Bend.
No, oh wow. I'm not going to have a moment to breathe at all, so I'll very quickly make my point. We've talked about it 4th being enough for Andy McEwen. I'm not sure it is. With Jason Cooper securing the 2 points for leading a lap and the 2 points for fastest lap, and Andy securing the 2 points for leading a lap as well, I think if these drivers actually manage to, if Andy finishes 4th, Jason finishes 12th, I think Andy's going to win the championship by a point if Jason wins the race, I should say. But again, it's trying to take into account fastest laps as well. This can be so close. Rob Jackson, I'm sure, will be in my Discord DM to correct me if I'm wrong. But there really is, we're talking a point in it here, folks. And you've got this gaggle of cars behind them. Neve, Pullen, Stephen, Holmes. They've got no business in the championship fight, but they've got every business to be there this race. And they are. Are they going to keep a watching brief? Is Lars Fischer going to keep a watching brief? Of course he isn't. And it's just going to be, frantic as we head round to take the white flag lap.
McEwen around the outside.
McEwen on the outside of Delmont.
Yeah, McEwen around the outside. He's trying to retake that 2nd place. That's exactly what he needs to do. If he finishes in 2nd, it's pretty much giving him the championship. But it's not going to be easy, is it? I realise I'm looking at Jason Cooper, Adam Delmont, Lars Fischer. They're going to try and go 3 wide again. There's contact. Adam Delmont, there's contact on the inside of him. McEwen survives it. Lars Fischer survives it. Jason Cooper survives it. But Adam Delmont doesn't. And that is his championship done and dusted. Wave him off there. We'll focus on the top 2 because they're nose to tail. But I would say Andy McEwen has a lot of breathing room now. And is that the checkered flag? Has the checkered flag flown?
No, I don't think it has. This is lap 10. This is the final lap of our race from what I think at least.
But on the top left, the checkered flag has flown. Very quickly go on iRacing. Check if it is finished.
They're still racing, I think. Let's find out.
I think they are still racing. I'm going to commentate as if they are still racing. Reese into
They are still racing.
They are still racing. So going into Hawthorns, then McEwen trying to pile the pressure. He doesn't really need to do this anymore. Adam Delmont's gone. Tom Griffiths is gone. It's between him and Cooper. He can finish in second place and take the championship as far as we're aware, of course. It might be changed. There might be penalties. We haven't seen anything that would suggest there's a penalty. The checkered flag has appeared on my timing screen, but these guys have ignored it completely, so we're ignoring it too. McEwen going into Sterling's. He's looking up the inside. Is that just going to ruin his run for Lars Fisher to have a go? I think it might. He didn't need to try and overtake Jason Cooper, but as they go down towards the final corner for the final time in this championship, Lars Fisher on the outside, Andy McEwen on the middle. It will be Jason Cooper who takes the victory in this particular race. But as far as our calculations are concerned, it is the reigning BSR TCR championship, Andy McEwen, who takes the MX5 championship this time round. And what an absolutely spectacular way to finish this season off. I'm sure Adam Delmont and I'm sure Tom Griffiths won't agree with me, but that was quite simply sensational. I have never, in my 3 years or however long it's been of commentating on sim racing, been off my seat quite as much as I was in that particular race. And Andy McEwen will tell you, we've commentated on some pretty exciting stuff together. That was the most exciting one I've ever seen. Reese, I mean, it's your first season of commentating. Trust me, it doesn't get better than that. You might as well just retire.
This has been a pleasure, guys. I'm just going to hang my microphone up right here because, no, you are absolutely right, Jack. That wasn't edge of your seat stuff. It was out of your feet stuff. It was stood on your seat shouting stuff. It's probably a good job we didn't have the commentator cams on tonight because we'd have embarrassed ourselves that much for sure. I'm pretty sure I heard my neighbours laugh when I was squealing when we saw some of the Contact early in the race. It's a shame. It's a shame that Contact got involved with settling the championship as they've driven so cleanly all the way through. But ultimately, in the end, it was Cooper and McEwen across the line 1 and 2, reversing the positions though for the title. It looks like it's McEwen from Cooper P1 and 2. And then I'm saying we'll figure the rest of the points out. But there's your headlines right there. Andy McEwen wins Pro. Luke Pullen wins Pro-Am. And Leon Jenkins wins Am. And that is a wrap right there when it comes to one track. But don't go anywhere, guys. These drivers have been on our screen all season long. And I think me and Jack are going to have a chat with a select few of them just now. But first off, take us through those final results.
Yeah, and for the final time this season, we'll take you through the individual race results. Jason Cooper took the race victory. Andy McEwen, 0.2 of a second back. Really doesn't tell the story. Is in second place. Lars Fisher finished in third. Definitely played his part in the championship since joining a little late. James Neve was fourth. Lee Holmes was fifth. Luke Cooper was sixth. Colin Sampson took home the AM class victory in seventh place. Nick Clibbins was eighth. Ninth was Leon Jenkins. He took home the AM championship victory. He was ninth overall. Julian Schroeder took the Pro-Am victory in this particular race. He was in 10th. Douglas Stewart was 11th. Sam Smith was 12th. Fiona Siddons was 13th. Kip Stevens was 14th. Adam Delmont, well, I just certainly played his part this season, but he ended up in 15th in this particular battle. Luke Pullen was 16th. Chris Dixon 17th. Tom Griffiths was 2 laps down in 18th place. And again, certainly played his part. Those two Excite drivers were brilliant. Glenn Humberstone was 6 laps down. Alistair Hatcher was 8 laps down. And Jamie Gulliford was 10 laps down. I do apologise if I sound like I'm very disappointed talking through those. I'm disappointed it's over more than anything else. I'm completely 100% out of breath. But Reese, I believe we've got a couple of drivers in our commentary booth with us now. And, first of all, I'm going to have a very quick chat to what I believe is first on the road on that last race, but second in the championship, and that was Jason Cooper. That's what we believe so far. The points will be updated and we'll be confirming that. But Jason, that was, brilliantly exciting from our perspective. You came from 4th in the championship going into tonight, into second, almost winning it. How exciting and how stressful has it been this evening?
I haven't had a great season by my standards. I've made a lot of mistakes, and so coming from behind this time, And yeah, the last round was very close, very exciting, especially that last race there. But yeah, Andy's drove amazing all year. He's kept out of trouble and he's always raced clean. So I can't think of a more deserving champion.
I was going to say, realistically, you've done an awful lot of MX5 racing, haven't you? And you've won plenty, though. I mean, how close was that in terms of stress levels? Was that touching the top end of what you've felt so far since racing in the BSR?
I think that's the closest finish that we've had before. I can't remember a closer one. I think me and Casper were quite close. It was only the two of us, and obviously we're teammates as well. But obviously the inter-team thing mixes it up a bit more. But yeah, I think I've won 7 now, and that was 4 on the bounce. So it's probably about time that someone else lifted the trophy.
I was going to say 7 isn't bad, is it? Really, it's a pretty good showing. I don't know whether you're into TCRs or anything like that, but what else have you sort of been doing whilst racing, obviously, with the MX5s here at BSR? Because you are a very seasoned sim racer, as far as I can tell. Yeah, have you been delving elsewhere? Is this sort of a fun championship, or is this one you like to focus on?
No, it's only this one at the moment. Family life takes precedent at the moment, so it's just the once a week just to do this for a bit of fun.
Well, it certainly provided us with really good fun anyway. I genuinely haven't got that excited in a very long time for sim racing. I'm sure when you watch it back, you'll probably have to mute me. But it was very, very good. Jason Cooper, congratulations on taking that race win. And, well, as we said, provisionally second place in the championship.
Thanks, guys. Catch you next season.
Provisionally so. I've just been reminded by Rob Jackson as well that any licence points gained this week will detract from championship points.
Oh, that's boring.
And the winning margin was only by 5. So hopefully it doesn't go to the stewards. I think Jason and Andy were both very well behaved this evening. That being said, we're keeping him on 10 tucks. He's in here, but we're not going to speak to him next. Adam Delmont got caught up in, unfortunately, a final lap accident. It was all on the line. 40 races and 9 laps of action. On the 10th lap, though, it all went a bit peak-tongue. Adam, talk us through your championship. Talk us through just the emotions tonight.
Good evening, guys. Yeah, it's been a bit up and down. Obviously, Qualiban, I was always on the back foot. Made good progress in the first lap of race 1, and then unfortunately somebody had to avoid somebody, and it just ended up with me being accidentally clipped and with massive damage. Just tried to finish. Obviously, race 2 win, race 3 win. I believe with obviously potential penalties might change things a little bit, but before that last lap, then I think I've finished 55 points off the lead. Somewhere around about there, is
That's
it?
correct, yes, Adam. I'm just
So
looking at the spreadsheet now.
if I'd have finished that race, I could have potentially won it.
It'd been very close, I think. I think Andy finishing second would have clinched it.
Yeah.
I think you were 4 points behind Jason going into the final race.
Yeah. So, if Andy may have finished 4th and potentially, there was potential. I gave it my all, mate. I was going for a win on every race. Just unfortunate. I mean, Cooper just seemed to slow up more than what I'd have anticipated, so it made me hesitate on turning. And obviously it just meant I drifted a little to the left, and me and Andy touched. I mean, it wasn't a big touch; it was just literally just a door bump, but the momentum of me being on the inside just obviously sent me into a slide. And the worst thing is, I did catch it, and I was fine to continue. I did actually catch it, but then somebody just came steaming downhill and flat chatting to the back of me. So yeah, took a few of us off. So yeah, that was good night. That was all she wrote, I think. But congratulations to Andy. With all respect, it is nice to see somebody barring Jason win it. Andy's driven really well. He's it's been clean with all of us. To be honest, it's been a good fight, and yeah, no, I've enjoyed it. It's certainly been exciting at times, shall we say?
So, well, thank you very much, for that, Adam. Now, Jack, I think you've now got opportunity. We've kept him waiting long enough. I think you've got Mr. McEwen himself with you in the interview booth.
I do indeed. Andy, MX5 BSR champion. That must have a pretty nice ring to it.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy. I think I'm a bit of a I don't know what to say. This is the first time for everything, isn't it? That was just epic. I mean, what a race! What a season! The racing this season, I think, has been better than it's ever been. I know I've only been doing it for about a year and a half now or so, and there are people who've been doing it longer. But honestly, I've had so much fun. It's been really close racing. There's been more drivers at the front this season than ever, and yeah, makes it all the sweeter to come out on top somehow. I couldn't tell you how I did it, but I'm glad I did it.
I'm going to say, it takes a lot to render you speechless. So it must have been a pretty exciting race. You ended up winning by 5 points. And as Reese has just sort of mentioned, obviously there's judicial. So we have to say it's provisional for the time being, as you know. But we didn't see any. Well, I'll word it differently. It was a very, very clean and respectful race. All 4 of them this evening, actually, weren't they? Between you guys at the front. Especially, that was pretty much everything you were hoping for in terms of an exciting battle for a championship.
Yeah, if I was in my normal position in the commentary box getting really excited about that, that would have been perfect. You know, you had the 4 championship front runners fighting for the win, championship on the line. It went down to, I mean, literally one position is what decided it. If I'd finished 3rd in that race, I'd have been tied on points with Jason, who I guess has more wins than me, and I'd have lost it. So, you know, it really couldn't have been any closer. It's exactly what we want from an entertainment point of view. But, you know, it says a lot about the drivers that I'm racing against. And I've got to give a huge shout out to Tom, Jason and Adam, because especially with the championship on the line, the fact I still felt safe enough to go around the outside of them and race door to door with them, that says a lot about them as drivers. And you know, I trust them not to do anything stupid or dirty or, you know, to try and win it in the wrong way. So yeah, massive thanks to them for making it so much fun and for keeping it respectful right to the end.
Yeah, but you did very nearly have a bit of a heart and mouth moment, didn't you, in terms of the 3rd race. Talk us through what your emotions were when you saw yourself flying off on the back end of the GP loop.
Oh, the funny thing is, so Leon, I know Leon is a good friend of Luke Pullen, who's one of my teammates. So he's not part of our team, but there's sort of a link there. I've never spoken to Leon before, but he's always been quite respectful of me. And in the last few rounds, he's been doing his best actually to just stay out of my way. And as we went out of Hawthorne, he pulled to the right and hit the brakes. And I thought, oh, great, he's letting me through. So I actually started to say in the Discord to the team, oh, Leon is an absolute legend. And as the word legend came out, I was couldn't believe it. So, and he came straight in and apologized. He said, I was trying to let you through. I just missed the apex. I mean, look, it happens. We're dealing in fine margins, like, and it worked out in the end. But yeah, for a moment there where I was backwards in the gravel, I kind of thought that was it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you weren't the only one. You managed to obviously battle back to 8th, which was very important because then you got that reverse grid, which must have felt like a godsend.
You couldn't script it, could you? I mean,
I definitely didn't script it either, everyone. You saw the random number generator.
It was suggested when I went into one of the Discords between races.
Didn't do it.
No, the random spinny wheel is 100% random. I've seen how it works, and you know, you need a bit of luck in motorsport, be it real or sim, and you know, I've had my fair share of bad luck in previous seasons. I think it's fair to say I've had more good fortune this season than I've had before. I also think I've driven better this season, but luck always comes into it, and that was just what I needed. It didn't guarantee me the championship, obviously, but it gave me a chance to, you know, settle down at the start of that last race, lead a lap, which is worth 2 points, so that made a difference. And yeah, had it been anything other than that particular reverse, it might have been a very different result.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, we're going to let you sort of digest it a little bit and obviously get some rest, because I'm guessing it's been a pretty stressful couple of days for you, obviously covering the TCRs and everything at Donington yesterday. Is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to? We've forgotten to ask everybody, but being a champion, I thought it might as well give you a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole team at Year One Racing have been amazing this season. I've been quite vocal in the past about how I was always kind of the lone ranger at Year One, didn't have any teammates, and it's made so much difference having loads of guys. I mean, I couldn't name them all because we've seem to take up half the grid, but it's been great having them here, and they've all helped me out. Huge shout out to Luke as well, winning the Pro-Am Championship on his first attempt. I mean, there was some other bloke did that for year one about a year ago, I seem to remember. I don't know whatever happened to him, but yeah, we seem to make a trend of that. And a big shout out to Graham as well, the man behind year one, who's supported me since I first decided to go and buy myself a sim about 18 months or so ago. So yeah, thanks to them. Thanks to you guys. Great coverage all season long. And I'm going to stop now because I hate it when racing drivers take 10 minutes thanking everyone at the end of a race.
It's all right. You don't need to really thank Graham. He's not here tonight, so it's okay. It's brilliant to have you along, Andy. Congratulations. And I'm sure I'll speak to you next week.
Yeah, cheers, guys. And thanks again, Adam, Jason, Tom, for an amazing battle.
Right, Reese. I mean, there is one last championship contender that we needed to have a chat to. You brought him in, Tom Griffiths. Why don't you have a very quick chat to him?
Commiserations first and foremost. You were there or thereabouts all season, right from the first round at Donington. You looked so strong. Unfortunately, all kind of unravelled in race 4 for you there. You saw you have that contact and get spun off to the outside. I can't remember who you had the contact with, so just talk us through it from the top. How did your race 4 go, and how do you feel like your season's gone?
Yeah, the race 4 couldn't have gone much worse, really, could it? Season's been mega. First off, Andy's done an amazing job. Couldn't be happier to see him go and win it. Every battle I've had with him all year has been clean, tidy, and yeah, just a pleasure. In that race, got off to an okay start. Was kind of working with Andy a little bit to try and make a gap. I was always the outsider going into that one, so I thought if I can at least try and push away with him, what happens behind happens behind. And then Jason found me into turn 3, which it was front to rear contact. There wasn't really much I could do with that one, unfortunately, which just spun me right to the back of the pack. But yeah, just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, on the last lap, the internet died. So I had to rush around trying to get back here. That's why I was late in here.
Well, commiserations indeed. I mean, I'm sure, there was no intent on the contact.
No.
And yeah, it was a big shame to see you go around. It was just a lull in the commentary, and I think next door's dog reacted to how high pitched I was. It was the first of many moments of drama in the final race. And what was your highlight of the season so far, though?
The first race at Silverstone International. I thought it was brilliant. Like 4 of us all door to door, absolutely bouncing off each other all the way through. I thought that was brilliant. Until the last lap, it got a little bit messy at the last lap, but up till then it was great. Just the racing with the other 3 guys. Like I'm sure they've said before me, all the way through, it's been pretty good. But glad to see Andy win it. It was well done to him again.
I'm sure he's going to be a popular and deserved champion.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Tom. And last but not least, I know we didn't give your teammate the opportunity to say it, but is there anybody you'd like to say a thank you to?
I suppose I better shout out the Excite boys then, if he didn't get the chance to. They've been great all year. I won't keep too long. Basically, everyone who watches, you guys are putting on a great stream. And yeah, all of the drivers as well. It's been a good year.
Thank you very much. And I can see he's still in the channel, so I'm going to actually pose the same question to Jason Cooper. Oh, no, he's just jumped out. That was the worst timing ever. Sums up the first year of commentary, I think, for me. I was about to ask him if he wanted to shout anybody out as well, but it turns out not.
Could ask Adam Delmont, to be fair. We forgot him as well. No, he's just disappeared as well.
Okay, don't ask anybody anything because they're going to jump out. The people that I do want to ask questions to, though, are our YouTube superstars themselves. That's Leon Jenkins. I'm definitely not going to call him Luke Jenkins at any point. And also Luke Pullen as well. So, Leon, you first. Winning our AM category on the first attempt. What a season you've had. Talk us through it. When did you think, because obviously Adam Fox was the early contender, when did you think, you know what, I've got this in the bag?
Well, yeah, I came in 2 weeks late, of course, and I wasn't really expecting anything. I had no idea where I was going to be pace-wise. And then I think he just missed 2 or 3 races in the middle of the season. It would have been interesting, I think, because we were really similar on pace. So it would have been nice to see that out, but yeah.
It was great, and it was really good to see all of your fans. I'm sure we're going crazy right now. I've not checked the YouTube comments, but I'm sure you're getting absolutely much love.
Oh, they are.
Oh no, yeah, no, that's been lit up. To be fair, Adam's asking who let Leon win. I'm sure that's meant in good nature. But no, what was your? I've been asking everyone what their highlight of the season is. What was the low light? What was the point you thought, oh God, no, what am I doing? Did you have a low light of the season?
Definitely the third race tonight. Yeah, took Andy out by accident. I tried to let him go, and completely just missed the apex by a mile, and ended up spinning him around. However, it did put him on a verse grid pole for the fourth race, so it was all part of the plan.
Yeah, executed to perfection. I've been interviewed, funnily enough, by Andy before, and kind of a race driver tip for you would be is in that situation, just say Andy turned in on you, regardless of what might have happened. Yeah, no, he definitely turned in on me right there. But last but not least, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to this evening?
Well, obviously the fan club, that goes without saying, but most notably to my dad, who is staying the night at his work. He's watching this from his work, so shout out to Phil, and of course to the broadcast team as well. All of you.
Woo!
Thank you very much. And I think we've got time for one final interview. I appreciate the candle is getting low. Luke Pullen,
Hello.
Why don't you take it away?
Hello.
Hello, Luke. Can you hear Jack?
I can't hear.
Yeah,
Oh, there we go.
Hi,
Jack.
You just said, Luke, take it away. I was thinking, is he going to do a dance? No. Luke, congratulations on taking the Pro-Am Championship, obviously. I mean, what a year for you. That's been pretty special, I assume.
Man, yeah, no, it was really, really good. Massive shout out to the team back at Brackley. Everyone's done a great job. At the end of the day, to be fair, a couple rounds ago, I think it was only the last round where I realised I was even leading the Pro-Am Championship, or at least in the fight, because I'd missed a couple rounds for whatever reason. And but no, it's just been a great laugh. First year properly doing any league racing on the sim. Of course, a bit of experience in real life with the BRSCC. But what's nice about this is it's so casual. You can hop on. We're all chatting away in the party when we're racing as a team. And it's just been such a good laugh, and to come away with the Pro-Am victory is the cherry on top. So yeah, no, really, really pleased. What
tends to happen when you win the Pro-Am is they bump you up to Pro, obviously. Is that something that it's something you're looking forward to, or is that a bit of a downside of the fact that you've won the championship?
No, just leave me in the Pro-Am. No, it's fine. I quite enjoy getting the Pro-Am wins. You know what? Drop me down to Am. Great. What's the worst that's going to happen? No, at the end of the day, to be fair, in the races themselves, in this first season as well, I've sort of been learning who the other drivers are and where people are in terms of, so-and-so's coming through. I know they're at the sharp end. And in the races, I'm more focused on just where I finish outright. And then obviously it's a bonus to see where I'm doing in the Pro-Am. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be as clear cut in terms of the championship standings next season being in the pro category. But yeah, I'm just happy to be racing World Tour and having lots of fun.
I mean, you said you joined this season. What got you involved? Who got you involved, or how did you get involved generally with the BSR?
The commentating legend of the sport that is Andy McEwen.
I thought you were going to say me then. That's disappointing.
Did I not say Jack? Do you know what? I meant to say Jack.
Buddy McEwen.
No, I know. He's a menace. He really is. No, do you know what? It's as I say, I race in the BRSCC, and obviously he commentates quite a few rounds of that, and we've chatted over Messenger, and he said, well, why don't you jump on sim racing? I've got some league stuff, which is fun. I thought I'd just jump on, and yeah, so it's been a lot of fun. First season, just meeting lots of lovely people, and yeah, having the occasional incident here and there, which I suppose is par for the course of a rookie season and anything. So yeah, no, it's been a great laugh. But yeah, it was Andy that brought me into it.
I was going to say a couple of incidents here and there, but at the end of the day, it's still better than the standard league races that you get on iRacing, isn't it? Every half an hour or something like that. So, yeah, brilliant to have you along. Is there anybody you'd like to give a quick shout out to before we let you go?
Oh, I've got a whole list. If you've got 10 minutes, I'm going to rattle through it.
Yeah, I'll go on my phone. Go for it.
Perfect. Yeah, I want to thank the academy, the whole team. No, I suppose just thank you everyone in the chat for watching. Obviously, I know the Leon Jenkins fan club is there. Want to just off the bat, I taught that kid everything he knows. So he does owe that AM championship to me. What a hero! Yeah, just everyone watching, you guys as well. You do such a great job on the commentary and on the broadcast. So yeah, just the whole operation. Thanks for making it worthwhile.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much. And, well, to both of you, Leon and Luke, of course, you did an absolute sterling job. Bit of a shame we couldn't focus you on you a little bit more this evening, but I'm sure you can understand why. We'll hopefully be having more chats with you next season.
Looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
And there we go, Reese. Now, I mean, it's about 10 to 11, so we're probably about that time when we really need... Well, it's probably about half an hour past that time we really need to start rounding things up. A quick couple of sentences from you then, an impossible question, but how sum the season up, or at least sum this finish up at least.
I mean, a few sentences probably isn't enough. I can probably write a whole newspaper column of it, but it's been an absolute pleasure to call. Genuinely, tonight has been the highlight of my week because I knew how great. I knew the chaps deliver in all three classes, having the four drivers neck and neck on points, right up until the last moment in race 4 was just, wildest dreams for a first season of commentary. And yeah, just action-packed and classic respectful racing from our MX5 drivers as well. I don't think there was much bad blood throughout the season, especially considering just how long and how often, with 4 races each night, over 40 races, how few incidents we've had between our protagonists there has really been something. And then a last thank you from me. We've asked everyone else to do a thank you. I do just want to thank you, Graham Sesswood in the background, for giving me the opportunity to do it. It's something that I've had my eye on for a while, so thank you for the opportunity for that. And then thank you to Jack Oliphant as well, because he's been my co-commentator extraordinaire. And from week 1, where I was like, hi, I'm Reese, I've never commentated before, I'm just going to copy you. All of a sudden, we've done 10 rounds, and I think I might have learnt a thing or two along the way. So big thank you to Jack for that as well.
Well, you're more than welcome. It's been a pleasure having you along as well. It's been a positive delight. And obviously a shout out to Graham as well, even if he didn't make it for this finale. But we'll let him off for that, for all the good work that he's been doing and the amount of effort he's been putting in over the course of this season, of course. Right, it's about that time that we finish off the stream and, of course, the championship. There is more BSR action, though, if you haven't quite got your fix so far. So if you are watching this on Year One TV, don't forget to like and subscribe, because then you'll be able to catch the action for the TCR BSR, which is quite hard to say, finale this Thursday coming, where I'm sure Graham will be back on the broadcast. And you'll have Reese, yourself, and of course, I believe Dan in the commentary booth with you.
Yeah, it'll be myself and Dan Blake from 8 p.m. on Thursday night for the finale of the TCR series. So looking forward to bring that one to you. A few different drivers in there. So yeah, really looking forward to it, Jack.
Good stuff. Right, thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure, whether you commented, liked, subscribed, shared it, or whether you just sat there and silently judged us. We don't mind, because you help our viewing figures. It's been a pleasure to be your host for this evening and for the entire year as well. Thank you very much to Reese, Graham, and all the drivers, and of course, you at home. We'll be back in a couple of weeks' time.